Hello! Hello, bestie. We are so back with another installment of Arrowverse Explained, Flash Season 2 edition. If you have not seen my Flash Season 1 recap, the link to that is in the description. You don't have to watch that to watch this. You can jump in right here, right now. I will give a quick recap of Season 1 before we get into it. There are timestamps in the description so that you can skip around this video. You can skip the intro. You can go to whatever episode you want. Very easy, very accessible. You are very welcome. Before we can actually talk about the plot, I do need to briefly explain this, the murder board. This is my visual representation of the show, the connections between the characters, everything that goes on. You are looking at a future iteration of the board. I have taken the liberty of re-question marking all of the characters. Don't look at the board too closely, you might see a spoiler. I'm from the future, which could potentially make me a time remnant. I'm not really sure how that works. I'm sure Harry Wells would know, so we should probably ask him. The string is color-coded. Yellow represents family, that's going to be biological and adoptive. Pink represents romance, crushes, marriage. Blue represents co-workers and or friends. Green represents people who are working together as part of Team Arrow or Team Flash, or in some instances they are a band of villains who are working together. Red is enemies. Orange is now strictly reserved for characters that are working for the big bad of this season, Zoom. There will be brown string added eventually, but I am not at liberty to tell you what that means yet. I fear this might have implications for the timeline. Another color-coded system is the colors behind the characters, the little borders. This represents my personal opinions on the characters. Green are characters that I'm neutral about. Red are characters that I hate. Orange are characters that I love. They are my favorite characters. Blue are characters that I think are cool, and pink are characters that I would consider girl bosses. A girl boss, by my definition, is a character that drives the plot forward and never lets the plot drive them. Another totally subjective thing that I do is give out awards at the end of the season to the character who is my favorite and the character that I think is the biggest girl boss. Any character who receives these awards cannot be removed from the board, even if they are not from this show. So enter Slay Station, down here in the corner. These are for the characters who slay and have been slain. Everyone down in the Slay Station, they're all characters from Arrow. Above the Slay Station, we have this little sliver right here. This does not represent the past like it does in my Arrow videos. Now it represents Earth 2, which is another dimension that we will get into when we get there. Don't worry too much about it. And then, of course, the big section of the board, where all the main things happen, this is going to be Earth 1 in Central City. In the present. You may have noticed, if you are familiar with my body of work, I have invested in a pack of Crayola Colors of the World crayons. I know, she's so worldly, right? It's crazy what $1 will do. Now, all of my shitty drawings can still be shitty, but they can be shitty with accurate skin tone. Another thing that I made is a Google Doc that contains 24 charts. One chart for each episode, and a chart full of totals. What are we keeping track of? Glad you asked. All of the dramatic pauses, all of the quips, and all of the times that I laughed, as well as a kill counter for every character in the show. I have a Google Doc with all of those numbers. So if you want to know how many dramatic pauses Cisco had in episode 17, you have access to that information. Past Me will now give you a recap of season 1. Take it away, Past Me. My time remnant, she lied. I'm actually from the even farther future because I rewatched that footage and girl, here is all you need to know to get up to speed on Flash Season 2. Barry Allen is a young CSI from Central City. He got his powers because he was struck with lightning during the dark matter wave from the particle accelerator explosion at Star Labs. Star Labs and the particle accelerator was created by Harrison Wells. Harrison Wells is like this rich, famous scientist, and he's super smart, super giga genius. Barry really looked up to this guy. Cisco and Caitlin were two scientists that were working under Harrison Wells at Star Labs. Caitlin Snow is a doctor. She knows all the biology stuff. And Cisco Ramon, he knows everything else, I guess. He can fabricate things. He can hack things. Every character in the show has a traumatic past of some kind, but Caitlin's is probably one of the more traumatic ones. Her fiance, Ronnie Raymond, was killed during the particle accelerator explosion, but he didn't actually die. He was just quantum fused with Professor Stein. and the two of them combined to form the flying, flaming nuclear superhero called Firestorm. Another team of superheroes who will assist Barry from time to time are the characters from Arrow, including Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow. We will discuss the Arrow characters when we get to the episode 8 crossover. The Star Labs team have ties with a lot of influential people throughout the show, including Tina McGee, the head of Mercury Labs, a competitor for Star Labs. Anyone who got struck with the dark matter wave from the particle accelerator and got powers from that is called a metahuman. These people have scientifically explainable superpowers, and most of them are using their powers for evil. So of course Barry Allen, the Flash, is trying to fight these people and keep Central City safe. The metas that they capture, they lock up in the Pipeline, which is a makeshift jail that they created inside the Star Labs particle accelerator. There are regular human criminals as well, one notable guy being Captain Cold. Captain Cold is one of Barry's main rivals. He has an evil cold gun that is like a freeze ray, but we don't call it a freeze ray, it's a cold gun. Captain Cold discovered Barry's secret identity and they had to make a deal. In exchange for letting Captain Cold and his rogues gallery continue committing crimes around the city, as long as they don't kill anyone, Captain Cold would keep his mouth shut about the Flash's true identity. There are more characters that also know about Barry's Flash secret, including his adoptive father, Joe West. Joe West is a cop, and in season 1, his detective partner was Eddie Thawne. Eddie Thawne was dating and eventually proposed to Joe's daughter, Iris West. Iris is a reporter. She works for Central City Picture News, and Iris is also Barry Allen's main love interest, and they're kind of step-siblings, which makes this weird, but, just ignore it. We're all ignoring it. Barry and Iris had this terrible, when are they gonna realize they're destined for each other plotline in season 1, and it all culminated with the two of them realizing that they're perfect for each other, and then they kiss, and it's beautiful and brilliant until a massive tidal wave created by Mark Martin the Weather Wizard wipes out the entire fucking city. So Barry Allen has to run so fast, he goes back in time, thus erasing the entire plotline from existence. Time travel, right? Can't live with her, can't live without her. Another one of Barry's love interests was Linda, another reporter for Central City Picture News. Clearly Barry has a type. The main villain of season 1 was Ubard Thawne, distant and future relative of Eddie Thawne. Time travel. Can't live with her, can't live without. Ubard Thawne is known as the Reverse Flash because he is the reverse of the Flash in every way. The Flash is good and the Reverse Flash is evil. The Flash wears red and yellow and the Reverse Flash wears yellow and red. Ubard Thawne time traveled from the future to kill Barry Allen when he was a baby so that the Flash would never be born because Reverse Flash and Flash are mortal enemies. He was unable to kill baby Barry, so he settled for killing Barry's mother, Nora. This caused Henry Allen, Barry's father, to get sent to jail because everyone thought he murdered his wife. Ubard Thawne is stuck in the past and he does not have enough speed to send himself back to the future. He needs to mastermind manipulate the entire show. He killed the real Harrison Wells and wore him like a suit, becomes Barry's mentor, and creates the Flash because he needed the Flash's speed to run him back to the future. Now, Ubard Thawne was a terrible guy. He killed a lot of people, including Cisco Ramon, but that happened during the timeline that Barry erased. So Cisco didn't actually die, but somehow Cisco remembers that Ubard Thawne killed him because he has creepy powers. Ubard convinced Barry to open a wormhole with him so that he could go back to the future and Barry could use the same wormhole to go back to the past and save his mother from dying. But he ultimately decides not to save his mother because her death is critical to the timeline, and if she survived, everything would get fucked up. So he stands in the closet and watches her die. Then he goes back to the present and stops Ubard Thawne from time traveling. Ubard Thawne is erased from the timeline when Eddie Thawne finally has his big main character moment. He kills himself in order to hit Ubard with an incredibly late stage abortion. This causes a black hole to open up above Central City, and season 1 ends there. So let's see how they managed to save the city from the singularity. Episode 1, The Man Who Saved Central City. First thing we see is the Flash and Firestorm teaming up to take down all of our favorite bad guys, like Captain Cold and Heatwave. And then they win, and they take him back to Star Labs, and guess who's in Star Labs? Everyone. Everyone from season 1 is there, and they clap. Yay, Barry, you did it. You saved the day, you special boy. But what's this? It's all in his head. He's alone. Barry is by himself. There is no Firestorm, there is no Captain Cold, and there is no Queen of England. Title screen. The mayor of Central City wants to hold a special celebration to honor the Flash, aka the man who saved Central City. He's calling it Flash Day, and at Flash Day, he intends to present the Flash with the key to the city. Barry is like, I don't know if I want to go, because, I'm not really the man who saved Central City. While Barry is going about his day doing CSI things, he is being followed by a creepy stalker. It's not me, I swear. Cisco Ramon is now working with the CCPD, and he has just created something called the Boot. The Boot will allegedly allow the cops to fling it on a metahuman, and it should stop their powers, so it'll be easier for the cops to take down these people without the Flash's help. Cisco has not spoken to Barry or Caitlin since the Singularity incident, and Caitlin hasn't spoken to anyone. Now she's working at Mercury Labs. The Flash is using his super speed to kind of help reconstruct the city. After the Singularity, it did some damage, major property damage. So the Flash has taken it upon himself to go around to small businesses and things and just fix them up. Today, he's fixing up Jitters. Iris comes in. They have a little conversation where she tries to convince him to go to the Flash Day celebration. Barry's like, nah, Iris, you of all people know that I am not the one who saved Central City. During a flashback, we finally get to see what exactly went down. Barry, as we know, famously ran straight up into the black hole. He did not go up there by himself. No. Ronnie and Stein merged together, and as Firestorm, they also flew up into the black hole. Their plan was to separate in the eye of the black hole. It works. Black hole gone. Yay, win. Unfortunately, only one half of Firestorm survives, and it's the worst half. Rest in peace to Ronnie a second time. It would be really crazy if Ronnie could somehow die 3 times. Barry does decide to show up to Flash Day. The mayor hands him the key to the city. It's all great and wonderful until some freaking metahuman throws a hot dog cart at the mayor. So of course Flash yates him out of the way, and then we have to fight this big dude. There's a couple of weird things about this guy. First off, they found a dead body of someone who looked exactly like this guy earlier in the episode. This man is very strong. His power is strength. So, of course, he's throwing things at the Flash, and then Cisco hits him with the boot. The boot backfires on them. It ends up making this man even stronger. This man gobbles up the extra power from the boot like a fucking glizzy, bro. Like a good glizzy on a Saturday evening. Gobbles it. Glizzy gobbler over here. He balloons up in size, and then the glizzy gobbler gets away. Cisco has one of his weird, creepy visions during the fight. Iris suggests to Joe and Cisco that if Barry continues to try and push them away and not accept their help, they should simply just not let him. Solid logic, Iris. Iris? She's a thinker. An attorney shows up at Barry's CSI lab, and he gives him a flash drive and says that Wells wanted him to watch the video on this flash drive because it was in his will. Barry doesn't want to watch this video, but if he doesn't watch the video on the flash drive, then he will not be allowed to inherit Star Labs because Wells put in his will that if he died, Barry would inherit the entire lab. What is the electricity bill at Star Labs? Cisco, Joe, Iris, and Stein show up at Star Labs uninvited. Barry, pissed. He's like, get out of here. I'm a solo act. I don't need you backup dancers hogging my spotlight, but they don't leave, and they help him track down the Glizzy Gobbler. They find him, and Barry runs away to fight him, but he leaves his earpiece, his comms, he leaves it behind, so that these motherfuckers cannot assist him. During the Glizzy Gobbler fight, Barry gets his ass kicked. Glizzy Gobbler is about to gobble Barry's... No, I can't say that. Luckily, Cisco and friends from Star Labs are watching the security cameras while this fight is going down, and Stein shouts, "Alarm!" And Cisco says, "Believe me, Professor, we're all alarmed." Stein was trying to tell Cisco to pull the fire alarm, so Cisco goes full Felicity, hacks into the alarm system, alarms start blaring. Joe goes up to Barry and he says, "Hey, son, stop hogging all the blame." Barry goes to talk to Caitlin at Mercury Labs, and she breaks down. She tells him that she blames herself for Ronnie's death because before the black hole opened up, Ronnie wanted to leave the city with her, and if she had just left the city with Ronnie, then he wouldn't have been there when the black hole happened, and therefore he wouldn't be dead. But also, if Firestorm wasn't there when the black hole opened up, I don't think Central City would still be there. So, I mean... Barry tells Caitlin about the video, so they watch it together. On this video, Harrison Wells tells Barry that he knows him, and he knows that Barry Allen will never be happy. That's important, because those words are going to stick in Barry's skull like Gorilla Glue for the rest of the season. After he's done taking a stab at Barry, he confesses to murdering Nora Allen. He gives all the right details, and the video should be enough to get Barry's dad out of jail. But it's too early to celebrate because remember, Glizzy Gobbler is still running around. They named him Atom Smasher, by the way. Cisco makes a flash signal, it's just the bat signal, but with the lightning bolt. Very creative, very demure. They draw out Atom Smasher, they get him into some kind of radiation chamber, and then they overload him with radiation. Atom Smasher is sufficiently irradiated. Barry goes and starts asking him the hard-hitting questions. He says that he was sent by Zoom to kill the Flash. He reveals that Zoom's not just gonna stop with Atom Smasher. No, there will be more. There are more battles on the horizon. Let's not worry about that just yet because Henry Allen is out of prison! Everyone reunites with Henry Allen. The song Renegade by Ex-Ambassadors is playing in the background. But after this happy smiley montage, Henry pulls Barry aside and he's like, "Hey, I'm not planning on sticking around in Central City." At Star Labs, the gang goes over their new and improved improvements, including a new state-of-the-art security system. Woo! So now, bad guys can't just open the door and walk right in. How cool, how clever. Nobody ever thought of that before. And so while they're yapping about this security system that will stop people from just walking into the lab unannounced, some dude walks into the lab unannounced. This man who just walked into Star Labs is Jay Garrick. There is a lot to say about Jay Garrick. First of all, I don't like him. I think he has a very punchable face. We'll talk more about that later, don't you worry. And he says, "Barry Allen, you're in danger. Your world is in danger." End screen. Stats for this episode. The character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry. He had 45. Cisco had the most quips with 10. I laughed at Cisco the most. I laughed at him 6 times. And Barry got 1 kill, but that was Atom Smasher, and that was a group effort. So it was technically like all of them. Episode 2. Flash of Two Worlds. Jay Garrick is going to drop a lot of lore in this episode. He's not from around here. You see, he's from a different Earth. Not a different planet. A different version of Earth. This is the baseline. It's only gonna get weirder from here. Jay says that he got sucked through a breach, or a portal, from his Earth to this Earth, because the singularity at the end of season 1 opened up that breach. Atom Smasher was from his Earth, which is why they found a dead version of him at the start of that first episode, and then he was still alive, because that wasn't the same guy, it was his doppelganger, bro. Jay thickens the plot a little bit more. He says that on his Earth, he was a speedster, and everyone called him the Flash. Title screen. Jay continues his tragic backstory. He claims to have been in an epic boss battle with Zoom, Big Bad. Zoom here was Jay's mortal enemy, kind of like Jay's reverse Flash. Zoom was literally about to kill Jay when he got sucked up into the breach with his stupid little metal hat, and then he just magically popped up on their Earth. But when he came through the breach, he lost his speed. And now he can't get back to where he came from. Where have I heard that before? Barry is in his Oliver Queen, I work alone era right now. So he's like, Jay, you're sus as fuck right now. You don't get to walk in here and start yapping about doppelgangers and breaches and other Earths and some dude called Zoom. You don't get to do that, okay? I don't trust you. And until you prove to us that you are a trustworthy individual, I will not hear another word out of your yapper. I hate Jay. I hate him. Worst character. I find him insufferable. I don't like the way he talks, the way he stands, the way he looks. Get him off the screen. I would prefer to just watch the Martin Stein show than be subjected to Jay for 5 minutes. Jay has this very, like, Captain America vibe to him, and I don't like Captain America, and that's not because I'm, like, a communist or anything. Zoom sends another guy through the breach, and he tells this guy to go kill the Flash.
Caitlin's having a chat
with Jay, and she learns that he got his speed the same way Barry did, by being struck by lightning, and Jay is also a super smart scientist. Very smart chemistry guy. Good with chemicals. Remember that. The nerds are discussing the multiverse and the implications of Jay, Garrick, and the breaches, and Martin Stein is out here, and he's writing on a glass whiteboard. It's glass. Why is it glass? Why is it see-through? CW, what's your obsession with glass? What is it? I'm dying to know. Does glass have some kind of magical properties? Was it cheaper to get a fucking slab of glass than it would have been to just buy a fucking whiteboard? Is it because you think that glass looks futuristic and cool? Because newsflash CW, it doesn't. It just looks like glass! Point is, Stein draws a bunch of circles. He explains that there are, theoretically, infinite Earths, and these breaches are a way that they could travel through to get to these other Earths, and all of these Earths are, like, stacked on top of each other through time and space, but they're all vibrating at a different frequency from each other, and that's why they never interact. Because they're all on a different frequency. So if you have too many aura points, you'll just get, like, swapped onto another Earth. That's just how it works, I fear. Caitlin informs the team that Jay Garrick does not have any traces of the Speed Force in his system. How does she know that? Does she have a Speed Force stethoscope? He also passed a lie detector test, meaning that the gang has no reason not to believe him. But that's not like the sleigh that they think it is, because we've seen Oliver Queen lie on a lie detector test and pass. So those can be manipulated. We've seen it done before. Despite the truthful lie detector test and the no Speed Force in his system and everything making sense, Barry still doesn't like Jay. He still doesn't trust that guy. And I'm right there with you, Barry. Get him out. At the police station, we meet a cute blonde cop lady. Girl boss alert, guys. This girlie approaches Joe, and she's like, "Hey, Joe West, I want to be on your task force, your mad human task force. I want to be on it." Joe is like, there is no task force. But this girlie here, Patty Spivot, she's not taking no for an answer. Girl is very persistent. At Star Labs, Barry locks Jay in the pipeline, and Jay is understanding. He's like, I get why you're doing this. I get that you don't trust me. I get that this is weird. Okay, Barry, this is weird for me too. But, like, Zoom is out there, dude. There's a fire somewhere, so Barry runs to play firefighter, but at the scene of this fire, there's a new villain. New villain alert, new villain alert. He's made of sand. And he just, like, hits Barry with a sand attack. Later, when the cops are investigating this whole crime scene, we got Barry, Joe, and Patty. Patty Spivot, she's back. Patty is always around the corner. Something about Patty. Patty Spivot recognizes Barry Allen's CSI because she reads all of his crime reports. She's like a Barry Allen CSI fangirl. She's like, OMG, Barry. I read all your reports. It's so cool how detailed they are. It's like you were actually in the middle of all that bloody action yourself. And Barry's like, hee 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 hee. I'm just really good at my job. Like, it's not because I was actually there or anything. They're hitting it off. Flirty vibes. Cute. They're adorable. I love Patty. Patty is sniffing around the crime scene. She finds some sand, gives it to Barry to run tests on it. Caitlin is running a few more tests on good old Jay. And Iris is also at Star Labs. And she's like, Caitlin, looks like you're flirting with Jay. OMG, girl. Do you have a crush? That can't be good for either of them. Because Caitlin's track record, it's not good. Ronnie died 2 times. Imagine what's gonna happen to Jay, bro. Anyone who Caitlin is within a 5-mile radius of, they're in danger. They ask Jay for some advice on how to beat Sand Demon, which is the name that Jay gives him. Cisco is kind of mad that he didn't get to pick the name, but he gives Sand Demon the Cisco stamp of approval. I don't like it. It's very hard to say. Barry refuses to hear Jay out on, like, what tactics he should be doing to stop Sand Demon. Cisco goes into his lab to analyze some of the sand, and he finds Stein in there, acting like the maddest mad scientist you could possibly be. Stein starts explaining his theories on the multiverse. Like, I think I understand how the breaches work. It's exotic matter. He explains that this exotic matter will leak from universe to universe, and they can track it if they just kind of, like, reposition the Star Lab satellites a little bit. Sand Demon's name is Eddie Slick. Bro, if your name is Eddie Slick, you're either gonna be the coolest fucking guy in the world or a complete incel. There's no in between. Imagine being named Eddie Slick. He kidnaps Patty Spivot, brings her back to his lair. At Star Labs, everyone is like, hey Barry, we should probably ask Jay for help. He seems pretty knowledgeable about all this sandy shit. Iris is like, Barry, calm down, okay? Not every mentor figure that is going to come into your life is going to be playing 4D chess with multiverse time travel just to fuck you over, okay? Jay Garrick could very well be a well-meaning individual. Hey, Iris, how confident are you about that statement? Also, on the news, at this point, there's a broadcast of Green Arrow's declaration at the end of season 3 where he's like, I am the Green Arrow and I am not leaving the city. Also, Cisco comments that he thinks Green Arrow is a dumb name because there's a color in the name. Barry lets Jay out of his cage. He explains that in order to defeat the Sand Demon, he needs to electrocute him, and then he'll turn into glass, and then he'll shatter and die, and that's how you beat him. But Jay never could do that. In order to turn Sand Demon into glass, Barry needs to learn the lightning toss, which is when he runs and then grabs a bolt of lightning from his, like, running stream, and then throws it. At Sandman's lair, he is monologuing to Patty about how he wants to kill the Flash. Patty is like, listen, you dumb bitch, just because you have powers doesn't mean you're better than everyone else. Cisco touches the sand again to try and get a location on Sand Demon with his creepy little visions. Sand Demon put a bomb under Patty's chair, so they're like, oh my god, we need to get the bomb off of Patty and also electrocute Sand Demon at the same time. I can't be in 2 places at once if we brought the other Flash with us. But Jay is like, oh my god, Barry, I would, but, like, I lost my speed. Does the Sand Demon know that? Jay and Barry suit up. Jay puts on his dumbass metal hat, and they run out there. Barry kills Sand Guy. He performs the lightning toss. Bro shatters. After this fight, Barry now trusts Jay a little bit more because seeing the Sand Demon actually be afraid of this guy is kind of like positive reinforcement that Jay is who he says he is. He asks for some more Zoom lore. Jay explains that Zoom is so fast and so smart and so handsome and so sexy and so fun to be around, and he knows CPR, and he's like so cool, and he's like, but he's evil. And he claims that Zoom wants to be the only speedster in the world, all of them, and he wants to kill Barry now because Barry is also a speedster. Something tells me that there's a weird relationship between Jay and Zoom here. Maybe an enemies with benefits type situation, because the way Jay is talking about this guy, he's like, yeah, Zoom's a monster, but he's also got a monster. Patty finally reveals her tragic backstory. Her poor innocent father was shot one day, point blank range in the face by Mark Martin. Okay, Mark Martin, ring a bell, weather wizard. Yep, Patty's dad was shot by Mark Martin, and then a couple weeks later, Broski got powers, and Patty got nothing. So she's all mad. The world is twisted and fucked, and the bad guys get powers, and then she, just has to sit around? No, Girl Boss became a detective. She became a cop with the sole purpose of getting on Joe's task force and taking down Mark Martin. Cisco finally is honest with Martin Stein about his creepy powers. He's like, hey Stein, so I've been seeing things. He explains that when he touches certain things, he can get a vibe, is what he calls it. But Cisco doesn't want the rest of the team to know about these vibes because this power he got came from the particle accelerator, which was created by Harrison Wells, and Harrison Wells is evil, and therefore anything that he created is also evil, and so Cisco thinks his powers are evil, and he doesn't like that. And this is so weird and uncharacteristic for Cisco because if that is the case, then Barry's powers are also evil. It doesn't make sense, this logic that Cisco is suddenly applying to his powers, because, I feel like that's so out of character for Cisco. He would be wanting to figure this out because Cisco's probably the most goated character. He probably has the craziest powers, but they're keeping him weak. They're keeping him weak for the plot. The gang finds the breaches, okay? Yes, breaches plural. There are many breaches. 52 to be exact. And in the middle of explaining that the largest breach of them all is right there inside Star Labs, Martin Stein collapses on the ground. End screen. In Star Labs, on a different Earth, there are some kids getting a tour of the facility, and they get to meet Harrison Wells, who is not in a wheelchair and is regarded as a hero of the city. Stats for this episode: the character with the most dramatic pauses was Patty, she had 37. The character with the most quips was Cisco, he had 6. The character I laughed at the most was Jay, he had 6 laughs. And the character that got the most kills was Barry for killing Sand Demon. Episode 3. Family of Rogues. Barry is staring at fun-colored liquids in his lab when he gets a call from Iris, who is being currently pursued by a bunch of armed men. So Barry tells her to jump out the window, and then he quickly runs and grabs her while she's free-falling it out the window. And then she's like, OMG, Barry, thank you for saving me. I was investigating a case, lol. And it never comes up again. Title screen. The nerds are all standing around in Star Labs looking at this breach, okay? Because like I said, the biggest breach of them all is in Star Labs. So they're staring at it. They're trying to throw things through it. Barry tries to run through it, but it doesn't work. Everything bounces off. There's a new woman in town. Her name is Francine, and she's Iris's mother. She's not pictured on the board, but she's here. And she's doing damage. Francine goes to talk to Joe, and she sees that he's still wearing his wedding ring, and she's like, oh my god, you never took it off? And he's like, yeah, no, divorcees take off their wedding rings. Widowers, they don't do that. Hang on. Francine's been alive this whole time. Y'all were talking about her like she died. And she wants to reconnect with Iris. At Jitters, the gang is hanging out, and there's a new drink at Jitters. They call it The Flash. He has a drink named after him. While they're here, Lisa Snart bumps into them, and she's like, Cisco, I need you to call the Flash, because my brother, Captain Cold, he's in trouble. Lisa goes on to explain that she was pulling a robbery with Lenny. Someone knocked all of them out and kidnapped Leonard Snart. Cisco is able to track down where Captain Cold is using the cold signatures from his cold gun. Barry goes to chat with him. We find out that Leonard Snart has not been kidnapped. Okay, Lisa's a little overdramatic. He was simply working with his father, Papa Cold. Lisa, upon hearing this revelation, she's flabbergasted. She's like, no, that can't be right. There's something wrong here. There's something amiss. Because my father is a terrible, evil person, and Lenny would never work with him. There's foul play involved for sure. Joe goes to talk to Iris at CCPN because he wants to tell her that her mom is alive and back in town, but he doesn't get the chance to do that because Miss Girl Linda shows up. Yes, the Linda, emotional maturity girl boss from season 1, who is one of Barry's dream guests on his podcast. She still works at CCPN. She comes in with a new haircut with a cute galaxy print top with shoulder cutouts. She is absolutely eating. The point is, Joe does not get to tell Iris about Francine. Barry goes to meet up with Snart at a shady little restaurant, and Snart's like, listen, Flash, I don't need you getting involved in my business. Stay out of this one, okay? And then he leaves Barry to pay for his meal. Papa Cold's name? Lewis. Lewis! Oh my god, that's a terrible name. I call my dog Lewis. Lewis Snart doesn't play the fuck around. They are yapping. He's got his crew together. It's him, Leonard, and one other guy. And this guy's like the tech guy. They're planning a heist. They're going through the details. And the tech guy insults Captain Cold. And then Papa Snart literally presses a button and suicide squads his head right off. At the crime scene, Barry, Patty, and Joe deduce that Lewis Snart must have put a bomb in that guy's head. And they're like, oh my god, what if he put a bomb in Captain Cold's head, and that's why he's working with him? And then Barry's like, no. If what they say about Lewis is true, and he is the most devious man in the world, he didn't put the bomb in Leonard's head. He put it in someone else's. At the lab, Caitlin and Jay are eating Big Belly Burger when Barry comes in and informs them that Lisa is now an unwilling part of the bootleg Suicide Squad. Joe tells Iris that Francine, her mother, is alive. He gives her the whole story. Back when Iris was very young, Francine was an addict. She would often leave Iris in dangerous situations. She got checked into rehab, and then after she checked out of rehab, she disappeared, and Joe didn't look for her. He totally could have found her, and instead he just lied to everyone, including Iris, and said she was dead because that was easier. Iris is surprisingly very understanding about all of this. The cop family from Arrow should really be taking notes. Barry goes to talk to Snart again. Lewis comes in and Barry has to improv on the fly. He's like, oh my god, hi, my name is Sam. I'm one of Snart's friends, and I'm gonna be your tech guy for the heist. Yeah, you said you needed a new tech guy. I've worked many a heist before. So they just let Sam tag along on the heist. The heist goes down, right? And it is just as chaotic and stupid as you think. There are multiple moments during the heist where things start to go awry, and Lewis Snart is about to get a little trigger happy, but Barry is able to secretly use his super speed to fix the issues. And so they progress through the heist until they get to the vault, and the vault's got a big lock on it, and Barry super speeds through the lock. Before they all go in, Lewis shoots Sam. He falls to the floor in a bloodless death. Leonard and Lewis walk into the vault, and Barry is on the ground. But he's not dead, of course. He caught the bullet, real sneaky like. Inside the vault, there's a bunch of lasers, right? Security lasers. They have Leonard shoot the lasers with his cold gun, and the laser beams freeze. And then he's able to just walk right through them, and they shatter and fall to the ground. I googled this. That is not how physics works. That's not real. That can't happen in real life. But apparently it can happen in whatever world they're living in. Meanwhile, back at Star Labs, they're panicking, trying to figure out how to get this bomb out of Lisa's neck. They get it out, of course. The Flash runs in, tells Snart that they got the bomb out of his sister's neck. Then Leonard Snart turns around and shoots his father. Captain Cold is now in jail. Iron Heights prison, to be exact. Captain Cold's like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be in this prison for very long. Patty gives Barry her number because they're kind of flirting. Cisco says goodbye to Golden Glider, Lisa Snart, Golden Glider. Remember when Cisco insulted Green Arrow for having a color in the name? What do you have to say for yourself now, Cisco? She kisses him and then gets on her little motorcycle and speeds away. Back in the lab, Genius Jay over here is able to stabilize the giant breach inside of Star Labs. So now they have a stable portal from their Earth in Star Labs to Earth 2. Jay's about to get himself all packed up to go back to his Earth, but the whole team, they convince him to stay. Specifically Caitlin. She really wants him to stay because they're flirting. Everyone on Team Flash has kind of come around to accepting Jay as a good guy that is part of their team, so they all convince him to stay on Earth 1 for a little bit longer. That's what this Earth is called. Then Professor Stein has another one of his freaky Firestorm seizures and passes out on the ground. End screen. 2 episodes in a row have ended with this old bitch falling on the ground. 2 in a row. Are we running out of ideas? End screen. After the end screen, we see Harrison Wells walking through the fucking breach, and he's now in Star Labs. Bro is here. He's hiding out in the lab. No one knows he's there. Stats for this episode. The character with the most dramatic pauses was Joe. He had 39. The character with the most quips was Leonard. He had 9. The character that I laughed at the most was also Leonard. I laughed at him 5 times. And the character with the most kills is a tie between Leonard Snart and Lewis Snart. They both killed 1 person each. Episode 4. The Fury of Firestorm. Flashback of some kid on a football field. Jefferson Jackson is his name, and he is a young football star. He's about to graduate and have his pick of colleges because he's so good at football. Suddenly, the particle accelerator explodes, so everyone is rushing inside the tunnel under the stadium to get away from that blast. Jefferson ends up helping one of his friends who's on crutches get into the tunnel, so he falls behind, and as a result, he gets blasted forward, smacks into a wall, and his back is surely broken. Title screen. They only have 3 days before Stein just poofs dead. They want to save Stein for some reason. So they deduce that all they need to do is find someone to replace Ronnie as the other half of Firestorm. They do some research and they find 2 potential matches to fuse with Professor Stein and become Firestorm. First one is, of course, Jefferson Jackson from the flashback, and the second one is this guy, Henry Hewitt, who I lovingly refer to as Henry Science because that's way funnier. Barry runs by both of these 2 men really quick, and then he gets a sneaky little blood sample from them. Iris is planning on meeting up with her mother, and we also learn that Iris loves mint chocolate chip ice cream. Is that a requirement for leading love interests? Patty goes up to Barry at work and she's like, hey, can you run some tests on this tooth I found? It's potentially from a man shark, not a regular shark. As far as potential Firestorm matches go, Caitlin and Stein both really like Henry Science because he's a smart man and he has a bunch of PhDs and he's very well educated. Barry likes Jefferson Jackson because he's physically fit and could probably be a better host for Firestorm? I don't know. So they decide to go ahead with interviewing both of the candidates. While all of this is going down, Harrison Wells is creeping around Star Lab. Barry and Stein go to visit Jefferson in his garage because he's a mechanic. Jefferson goes by Jax. He explains that the particle accelerator explosion caused him to get hit into a brick wall and tear his ACL, and it destroyed all of his football dreams. Joe and Iris meet with Francine. Francine is very apologetic for leaving her all of those years ago, but Iris stands her ground. She's like, no, Miss Ma'am, you don't get to do that. You don't get to dip and then pop back up whenever it suits you. Stay out of my life. Stay out of my dad's life. Bye. Henry Science comes to Star Labs. He's ready and willing to become part of Firestorm. He is so happy about this. Stein and Henry hold hands, but nothing happens. They do not fire or storm. It's quite depressing, and Henry is mad. He's mad at Caitlin because she lied to him. She said he was going to be a superhero. They're all fucking liars, and they're unprofessional for leading him on like that. As he's leaving, we see his hand have a little bit of a flame on the end of it. So something weird did happen when he touched Stein. Tina McGee is chatting with her assistant at Mercury Labs when an alarm goes off. They run to the Applied Sciences section and they see Harrison Wells stealing some shit from Mercury Labs. Of course, the next day, when the police show up to investigate, Tina pulls Joe and Patty aside and she's like, hey, between you and me, I know I saw Harrison Wells walking around here stealing my shit. Patty is like, OMG, Barry could really help us with this, but Joe is like, no. Wells is kind of a sore subject for Barry Allen. Do not mention him. He may or may not have murdered Barry's mother. Francine goes to talk to Joe. She has McGregor's and she only has a year left to live. Jax arrives at Star Labs, but when he hears the true details of what they're asking him to do, he's like, no, I don't want to be a superhero. I don't want to be fucking Firestorm. I don't want to be the nuclear man. Nope, go to hell. I'm out. And Caitlin is pissed. She's like, yo, why are you turning down the opportunity to be a literal superhero, my guy? And I'm with Jax on this one. I would have took one look at Professor Stein and walked out the fucking door. Joe, witnessing Barry and Patty flirting with each other constantly, is like, hey, Barry, you and Patty would be a cute couple. You need to, let go of this idea that you and Iris are destined to be together. Henry Science is screaming at somebody and lights on fire. When the team hears about Henry Science's fiery outburst, they are shook. And they find out a lot of other things about Henry Science, like that he has a criminal record and he has anger issues. Caitlin is now determined to find Jax and make this right and make him become Firestorm. When she goes to apologize to Jax, he reveals that he was going to go to college, but because he tore his ACL and didn't get the scholarship, he wasn't able to afford to go to college. Caitlin is like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I totally misjudged you, bro. Do you want to be Firestorm? And he's like, okay, yeah, I'll be Firestorm. Henry Science shows up and starts lobbing fireballs at them, so they GTFO back to Star Labs. Jax merges with Professor Stein, and it works beautifully, wonderfully, perfectly. They are now Firestorm. Stein's not dying anymore. Yay! Firestorm heads to the football stadium, which is where Henry Science is at, and they have a big boss fight. Firestorm and the Flash versus Henry Science. And of course, they kick ass. In season 1, it seemed like Ronnie's body was the vessel, but Stein was the one that was controlling everything. However, in this case, it's Jax's body. He's controlling it fully. He doesn't have to do what Stein is telling him to do. Stein is just now a voice in his head. You know, like eyes and ears. I hated it when Stein was speaking out of Ronnie's mouth. That felt wrong. So now all of the words that come out of Firestorm's mouth are Jax's words. Iris meets with her mother again, now knowing that she's dying of McGregor's, and she doubles down. She's like, Francine, stay away from us. Stay away, because I know your secret, Francine. I'm a reporter. I dig, okay? And I dug, and I discovered that 8 months after you left, you had a son. If my father had a son this whole time that he didn't know about, that's gonna fuck him up so many ways. Stein and Jax go to the land of the Yinzers, Pittsburgh, to do Firestorm things because they're not needed in the show anymore. They both fuck off and go away now. Barry is running through the city and he gets attacked by Shark Man. Gasp! Shark Man is working for Zoom. Duh. He's from Earth 2. Anyone with a pink 2 is from Earth 2, unless they're on this section of the board, because this is the Earth 2 section of the board. Barry gets attacked by Shark Man, and Barry gets saved by a hooded figure. It's Harrison Wells. End screen. Fun fact about the actor who plays Henry Science, he also plays Billy Wintergreen in Titans, which is a great show. Stats for this episode. The character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry. He had 39. The character with the most quips was Stein. He had 5. The character that I laughed at the most was Barry. He had 4, and there were no kills in this episode. Episode 5. The Darkness and the Light. On Earth 2, in a flashback, Harrison Wells is giving a press release about his new gadget that he created. It's like a watch, and it's like a metahuman alerts. The Flash, Jay Garrick, shows up, and he's like, hey, you created Zoom, Harrison Wells. Why don't you do something about it? Why don't you help me take him down? Harrison Wells is like, Zoom's not my problem, bro. Earth 2 Wells has a daughter. There's Girly Pop. Title screen. Back in the present at Star Labs, Wells 2 was discovered by the team. He's walking around in the lab holding an autobiography of Earth 1 Harrison Wells, and he says this: "It's very strange to be holding your own autobiography, especially when you didn't write it and it's not about you." Wells 2 explains to the team that he came here through the breach because he wants to team up with the Flash and stop Zoom because he created Zoom and he is finally ready to take accountability for that and do something about it. Of course, Wells 2 looks like Wells 1, who is, notoriously the reverse Flash. So naturally, all of our characters are having a hard time dealing with that. Barry is very quick to defend Wells 2 because Wells 2 just saved him from Shark Man. Wells 2 doesn't care. He doesn't care that all of these people are traumatized by Wells 1. He tells Crisco and Caitlin that they need to get their shit together. Joe walks in. He sees Wells 2. He grabs his gun and shoots 3 bullets at him. Honestly, valid. Fortunately, Barry is able to speed in front of him, catch all the bullets, and then Joe is like, "Oh my god, how are you still alive?" And then Wells 2 says, "Because you missed." Real quote, by the way. Joe pulls Barry aside and he's like, "How are you so okay with Wells 2? What's up with that? He killed your mom." And Barry's like, "Trust me, I have to resist the urge to kill him Real quote. At CCPN, girl boss Linda, she's chatting with Iris about how she refuses to write a puff piece about a problematic sports player because her boss man Larkin, he wants her to write this puff piece, but she's too girl boss for that. Then Joe comes in and he tells Iris about Wells too, and he gives Iris a gun, and he says, "You can't murder somebody that everyone thinks is dead, right?" Real quote. At Jitters, Barry, Cisco, and Caitlin are chatting about, having to give Wells 2 a chance. Barry then dares Cisco to ask the cashier out, the hot cashier at Jitters. Go ask her out, Cisco. So he does. He shoots his shot. She shoots him down. Here she is, barista at Jitters. That's all she is. By the way, she's just a average barista, so average. Cisco then gets a weird vibe about another metahuman attacking the bank, so Barry speeds off over there to investigate that. We have our first interaction with this creepy little woman. Back at Star Labs, Wells 2, who Cisco insists that we refer to as Harry, so I'll be calling him Harry. Harry explains that this lady right here, the one that attacked Barry at the bank, she's called Dr. Light, but she's not a doctor. She's just a criminal. So why do they call her Dr. Light if she's not a doctor? Okay, listen, I get that Dr. Light is a DC character. I get that. But, usually Dr. Light is a doctor. Usually that's part of the origin story. I googled it. So it's really weird for them to call this random ass woman Dr. Light when they could have come up with any other name. And I wrote a list of options down, like Glow Stick or Sun Snatcher or Blind Spot. Blind Spot's kind of sick, guys. I think I cooked with Blind Spot. Harry explains that the dark matter wave from his particle accelerator on Earth 2 created all of these metas, just like the dark matter wave from the particle accelerator on Earth 1 created all of the Earth 1 metas. He also explains Dr. Light's powers. She can shoot light beams directly from the sun from her hands, which is not cool. It's the opposite. It's hot, actually, and that's a real quote from the show. Harry says that they should catch Dr. Light and then use her as a lure to draw a zoom to them. Jay, who knows Harry from Earth 2, they go way back, he's like, "Hey Harry, we probably shouldn't do that. That is a very queer idea, and gay to be certain too. Dr. Light is not a murderer. She's just a thief." And Harry's like, "Well, Zoom sent her here to kill the Flash. Zoom can make people do things that are otherwise out of character." Barry invites Patty to a dinner date tomorrow. Cisco interacts with Harry alone for the first time, and Harry's like, "What did I do to you?" Okay, well, what did the other me do to you? And Cisco's like, you killed me, motherfucker." Harry's like, "Yeah, that sucks that happened to you. So sorry for your trauma, but can you just get over that because we have to work together to fight Zoom, and I also don't care." Harry is also a little suspicious of Cisco, and he flips on his metahuman detector watch. Barry is fighting Dr. Light again. She takes her mask off and reveals that she is Linda's doppelganger. Barry's like, "OMG, Linda?" And she's like, "How do you know my name?" And then she blasts him with, light and runs away. And Barry is now blinded. Because Barry has super healing, he's not permanently blind like a mere mortal would have been if they witnessed that. So he will have his vision back in about 6 hours. "That's way too long. I'm gonna have to cancel my date with Patty," says Barry. Cisco is like, "I think I can help you with your date." This help comes in the form of Barry wearing those fucking Ray-Ban sunglasses with the camera in them and live streaming his date to Cisco so that he can give him directions and then, tell him all of the things that she's doing so that he can react properly. Jay and Caitlin are also on a little date, but it's not a real date. They're actually on a stakeout at CCPN because they're worried that Dr. Light will try and attack Linda now that she knows that there is a Linda in this world. So they're staking out in front of CCPN, and it's getting steamy in that van. They're about to kiss. When Dr. Light shows up and knocks them both unconscious. She wants to kill Linda. She goes to hit Linda with a light beam, but Larkin, the boss man, jumps in front of the way, and he dies, and Linda is not dead, and then Iris pulls out her gun that Joe gave her, and she shoots Dr. Light's mask off, and reveals that it's Linda's doppelganger. And so now Linda is flabbergasted, and Linda 2 is flabbergasted, and then Linda 2 makes a getaway. It doesn't take Patty long to realize that Barry can't see. You know, she is a detective. She does have brain cells. Barry is like, oh my god, yeah, actually got my pupils dilated. And, that's kind of a crazy lie because he also couldn't see colors, apparently. And that's not how pupil dilation works. Patty doesn't question it. Their day goes pretty well, and they kiss. So Linda's kind of freaking out because she's got a murderous doppelganger running around. Barry is able to get his hands on Light's mask. He brings it back to Star Labs, and then Harry is like, we can use this. And they're like, what are you talking about? How are we supposed to use the mask to find Light? And then Harry, like, turns all dramatic and looks at Cisco, and he's like, he can do it. This is like a extremely dramatic Among Us imposter reveal. Like, Cisco is flabbergasted that he's just been outed, but then everyone else is like really understanding. Harry is like, Cisco, touch the mask. Vibe it, okay? Let's go. Harry and Jay get into a bit of a fight in this scene, and Harry's like, Jay, shut the fuck up. You're slow. You're the slowest Flash in the fucking universe. Barry's like 10 times faster than you, and you're also a bad hero, Jay. You suck as the Flash. Worst Flash, Flash. Barry runs towards the danger. Your ass runs away from it, you pussy bitch. Barry then goes to the train station to try and find Dr. Light. They get into another fight. He is able to lock her up in the pipeline after this. Barry wants to go with Harry's plan of using Dr. Light to lure out Zoom because Barry wants to fight Zoom ASAP. Barry's number one goal, kick Zoom's ass. Jay is like, this is dumb. This is the dumbest shit I've ever heard, Barry. No, you're not ready to fight Zoom. And so Jay leaves. He pieces out. He's like, I am not helping you get yourself killed, Barry Allen. Honestly, pussy behavior. Cisco is forced to interact with the same barista who just turned him down the other day, and it's super awkward, but she's like, actually, I was just really overwhelmed, like, that day when you asked me out. I think you're really cute, actually, and I would love to go on a date with you. And we learned that her name is Kendra Saunders, and she has so many issues. She doesn't know it yet, but she has so many issues. She just moved to Central City. She felt drawn here. Barry and Cisco and Caitlin are chatting, and Caitlin is sad that Jay left because they're like flirty vibes. They decide that they need to give Cisco a hero name, and they go with Vibe. Okay. End screen. On Earth 2, we learn that Zoom has captured Harry's daughter. Stats for this episode. The character with the most dramatic pauses was Harry. He had 58. The character with the most quips was also Harry. He had 12. And I laughed at Harry the most, 10 times. The character with the most kills was Dr. Light. She killed 1 person. Episode 6. Enter Zoom. Barry fights Dr. Light, gets his ass absolutely kicked, and then she kills him and throws his emblem through the breach. Title screen. 72 hours earlier, Barry has Dr. Light in the pipeline. They're discussing her options. She's like, listen, Zoom sent me here to kill you. I don't want to kill you. I want to kill Linda so that I can become her, so I can just live the rest of my life in peace and not have to worry about Zoom killing me. Barry's like, you know what? That's not gonna happen. You can't kill Linda. So sorry to say it. But you can team up with me. Harry comes in and he's like, guys, I developed a serum that will slow down Zoom. We just hit him with this slow dart and he will go so slow. Caitlin is like, what did you do? No, we can't have a slow serum, okay? This is gonna be like this year's cold gun. If some bad guy gets a hold of the slow serum, Captain Slow will be running around here. Cisco is like, Caitlin, I would never let someone called Captain Slow run around this city. I would come up with a way better name than that. Joe, surprisingly, really likes Harry's plan. But then after agreeing to this, Joe pulls Cisco and Caitlin aside and he's like, yo, Harry is sus. Sus as hell. He looks like Wells. Can't trust Wells. Joe wants them to go along with Harry's plan, and hopefully Harry will slip up and reveal something. Like, maybe he'll reveal that he's secretly evil. Joe's like, hey Cisco, can you use your new creepy powers to, like, get a vibe on Harry and see what he's all about. Harry has a flashback to Earth 2. After the press conference, he's chilling in his office and his daughter Jessie comes in. Jessie is so smart. High IQ, genius level, so smart, smartest girl alive. Jessie is shocked because she didn't know that the particle accelerator is what created Zoom, and now she's mad at her dad because he just created all of these evil fucking metas. And he's like, listen, Jessie, that doesn't really matter, okay? Who cares? After this argument, Jessie leaves the room, and Harry's like, that's my Jessie Quick. She's always just so damn quick. She's so quick. Quick. Patty is trying to ask Joe about Dr. Light. Joe is like, no, that case is closed. Don't worry about it. In the pipeline, Cisco finds Dr. Light's cell empty. There's nobody in there. He panics and opens the door. Naked and invisible. She left her clothes in a heap, and now she's invisible and she ran away. They should call her the Streak, am I right? The team is having an argument about this. Harry's like, Cisco, you dumb bitch. And then Cisco's like, well, you are evil, so I don't want to hear a word from you, evil. Harry is like, I am not Wells. Stop comparing me to my doppelganger who is your enemy. That's not me. We are not the same. But they need a new plan now that Dr. Light streaked out on them. Harry keeps working on his slow serum, okay, because it's not fully developed yet. Like, it's developed on Earth 2, but it's not developed here. He's gotta, like, beep boop beep some shit. Joe pulls Barry aside and he's like, hey, Bear, you think we could slow down on this whole going after Zoom thing? I mean, it is only episode 6 and the big boss fight can't happen until episode 23. So maybe slow down, Barry. We don't know what Zoom's abilities are. We're not really sure exactly the scope of what he's capable of. Joe thinks that they need to get Jay back on their team because Jay is the only person who can help them. He's fought Zoom before, and he's way more trustworthy than fucking Harry. Look at Harry and then look at Jay. Which one of them looks like the man who killed Barry's mother? Barry is like, no, Jay's not gonna help us. He was very insistent that he does not want to help me fight Zoom. Cisco goes up to Harry and tries to sneak that vibe check. Harry catches on real quick. He's like, keep your fucking hands off me, creepy meta boy. Stay away from me. They suspect that there might be something more to Harry's relationship with Zoom than meets the eye. Fun fact about Earth 2, the green arrow on Earth 2 is Robert Queen. Imagine the boss fight between Robert Queen and Malcolm Merlin. He's like, you slept with my wife, prepare to die? That would go so hard, actually. Linda is now staying at the West House, and she's stress cooking because she's stressed. And then Barry and Iris get to talking, and Iris suggests letting Linda help them take down Zoom. We have Dr. Light's outfit, and we have the bitch that looks exactly like her. Why not dress her up, you know? They take Linda to Star Labs, and she agrees to help them. She agrees to, like, put on the Dr. Light cosplay and be a villain. They need to train her. Barry is wearing his mask when Linda is at Star Labs, so she still does not know that he's the Flash. Cisco made cardboard cutouts of everyone. These cardboard cutouts will be relevant later, so don't forget about them. She is using the cardboard cutouts as, like, target practice. The way that she's able to mimic Dr. Light's powers is because Harry and Cisco made her gloves. Even though Linda is definitely not ready to go through with this plan, Barry and Harry are like, let's go, let's do it. Joe is like, Barry, why are you so desperate to take down Zoom? Is this because you're harboring some resentments about the way the Reverse Flash went down? Are you mad that it wasn't actually you who killed him? Is that your issue? Barry's like, no, this is not about the Reverse Flash. This has nothing to do with you, Bart Dawn, okay? This is about Zoom and Zoom alone, and I want to take him down just because he's a threat, okay? That's all this is. Stop psychoanalyzing me. The Flash goes to talk to Linda, and she's like, listen, I know I'm a shitty supervillain. I know this plan is gonna fall apart because I suck. And then the Flash takes his mask off, and he's like, girl, I believe in you because I know you. She's like, OMG, I made out with the Flash. Cisco tries to sneak another vibe on Harry. It works this time, and he sees Jessie in his vibe. The fight from the start of the episode where Dr. Light killed Barry and tossed his emblem through the breach, that was actually Linda. That was Linda pretending it was all fake. And Linda is not a convincing bad guy. Despite everything, all the training, all the pep talks, she sucks. They do this goofy little fake fight. Barry falls down on the ground, pretends to be dead, and then they have to stand there and wait for Zoom to show up. Hour goes by, no Zoom. Zoom's not coming. They pack up and they leave for the day. They're all pissed. After this, Barry goes up to Joe and he's like, yeah, you were kind of sort of right about this not exactly being about Zoom. Yeah, it is kind of also about the Reverse Flash. Ever since that night when I went back and I chose not to save my mom, there has been a hole in my heart. I don't know what to do. I feel empty. What Reverse Flash said on that video when he said I would never be happy, what if he's right, Joe? Joe turns into a Pinterest inspo board and he's like, Barry, inspirational quote, inspirational quote. Barry, now that he's been told he needs to do more things that make him happy, decides to go up to Patty and kiss her because she makes him happy. Linda and Iris are chatting about how it's so cool that they are sister sidekicks to the Flash when Zoom comes in, snatches Linda up. Zoom goes to Star Labs, literally holding Linda. A chase breaks out between the Flash and Zoom. Zoom throws Linda off the side of a building. Barry catches her, puts her to the side, all safe-like, and then he fights Zoom. Harry is there with a sniper rifle and his slow dart loaded into it. So while they're fighting, he's waiting for a shot. He shoots his little dart. Zoom catches that motherfucker, shoves it into Barry's chest, and then proceeds to toss Barry around like a fucking pizzeria boy with a dough, you know? He breaks his entire back, and then he carries the limp Flash around the whole city. He first takes him to CCPN, makes sure the reporters record him while he, shows the Flash basically dead. And then he runs to the police station, and he's like, your hero has fallen. Okay, get fucked. And then he runs back to Star Labs, and he's about to kill Barry in front of all of his friends. But Cisco manages to hit him with another slow dart, and then Zoom runs away, and Barry is still alive, but only just, barely alive. Joe blames Harry for all of this. Every single thing that just happened, that's on Harry. Cisco is like, hey, who's Jesse? And then Harry reveals his dramatic backstory because Zoom kidnapped his daughter and now he needs to stop Zoom in order to get her back because the only way to get Jesse back is if Zoom is dead. Harry's like, well, I came here and I fucked everything up. I thought that using the Flash to get to Zoom was gonna work, but it didn't work. This plan was a failure. I'm gonna go back to Earth 2 and cry. End screen. Barry wakes up from his near-death experience and he's like, I can't feel my legs. Stats for this episode. The character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry. He had 37. The character with the most quips was Cisco. He had 7. And the character I laughed at the most was Harry. I laughed at him 5 times. There were no kills this episode. Episode 7. Guerrilla Warfare. Barry is still alive. He's able to walk now. It's literally a miracle that he is still alive. Harry comes in and he's like, guys, I'm going back to Earth 2 to fight Zoom. Title screen. Joe is pissed. Okay, Harry just showed up here, fucked everything up, and now wants to dip on them. Harry's like, guys, I need to leave, I need to go home, I need to regroup, I need to find another solution. Without Jay and without Barry being fast enough to do anything, they need Harry's knowledge about Zoom and the doppelgangers in case another one comes to attack. Barry gets a call from Patty, and he lies to her. He tells her that he is very sick, can't come see her, and he does not want her to bring him any homemade soup because he loves the canned stuff. Caitlin continues to try to convince Harry to stay on Earth 1 because the best way for him to save Jesse is if he stays on Earth 1 with the Flash. Harry has this light bulb moment where he's like, OMG, what if we close all of the breaches except for the one on Star Labs? Then Zoom would only have that breach to come between worlds, so we'd be able to trap him. Cisco is on a date with Kendra. He grabs her hand, gets a creepy vibe of a person with wings in a leather super suit, and then he runs away. He's like, I'll call you later. They don't even go on the date. This is before they even get in the building. And Kendra's just like, a doctor at a random lab gets the sudden urge to steal some chemicals. Gives them to who? Yeah, Gorilla Grodd. The gorilla's back. The big fucking gorilla. Patty and Joe are at the crime scene. There's hair samples they need to test. She's like, hey, Joe, how's Barry doing? And then Joe's like, oh, Barry, I'm going to see him now. I'm going to bring him some of my homemade soup because he hates the canned stuff. Does he now? Barry is walking on a treadmill. While he starts to pick up speed on this treadmill, he gets like a sudden flash of Zoom anxiety, and then he falls off the damn treadmill and hits into a wall. Barry tells Joe that Zoom didn't just break his back, he broke his spirit. And Barry is so depressed because after he was paraded around the city like that, all of the bad guys now know that the Flash is weak. Cisco is telling Caitlin all about his latest vision about a man with bird wings, and then Caitlin is like, punches Cisco in the face, and she dips. Joe gets a phone call from Patty, and she's like, OMG, we just got those hair samples back. Gorilla. They're gorilla hairs. And Joe is like, you don't say. Team discovers that Caitlin is now mind-controlled by Gorilla Grodd, so they gotta figure out where she is. Barry is wheeling around Star Labs in the evil wheelchair, and he is so depressed because he cannot help them. He can't do anything. He's so fucking useless. Joe tells him to get a fucking grip. Barry, you might not be able to run, but you still have brain cells in there. Use them. Caitlin wakes up in Grodd's new hideout, and he reveals to her his plan. He wants Caitlin to cook him up a serum that she can inject into other gorillas so that there can be more creepy gorillas just like Grodd, because he's feeling a little lonely. How on earth are they supposed to take down Gorilla Grodd without the Flash? By having Harry cosplay as the Reverse Flash, of course, because the cosplay thing worked so well for them when Linda did it. Guys, Harry's Wells impression is not exactly up to par. Grodd clocks him way too early. They get into a fight. Fortunately, they are able to save Caitlin, but Grodd is still at large. They still have to deal with the big fucking mind control gorilla. Barry has gotten his speed back at this point because he got a pep talk from his dad. The plan is to draw Gorilla Grodd out, using Caitlin as bait, and then they're gonna send him through a breach. So that's what they do. Now Gorilla Grodd is on Earth 2 somewhere in a rainforest. Barry goes to talk to Patty. He does not tell her the truth about, being the Flash and Zoom killing him and all that shit. But they do make up. Patty is very forgiving, and she's very understanding of Barry keeping secrets. She is so sweet. She's so pure. Cisco goes to talk to Kendra, who, just like Patty, is very understanding for some reason. She's like, yeah, it's totally cool that you ran away from me the last time we interacted. It's totally fine. Girls' standards are on the floor. The bar is in hell for Kendra. Cisco and Kendra kiss, and when they kiss, Cisco gets another fucking vibe of the bird person, except this time, it's very clear to him that the bird lady is Kendra. End screen. Stats for this episode. The character with the most dramatic pauses was Harry. He had 43. The character with the most quips was Cisco with 4. And I laughed at Cisco the most 4 times. The character with the most kills was Grodd. He killed 2 people. It's crossover time. Seasoned veterans of the Arrowverse will know that every time episode 8 rolls around, it's time for the crossover event. You need to watch both of them in the correct order in order to understand the whole story. Fortunately for us, this crossover mainly involves Kendra and all of her issues. So I'm gonna go over both parts of the crossover in this video. I need to introduce you to the Arrow characters. Oliver Queen, he is the Green Arrow, he's a billionaire vigilante, runs the whole show. John Diggle, very important. He will come back in a later episode. His main gimmick in The Flash is that every time Barry, picks him up and super speeds him, he vomits. It's so funny, trust me. Malcolm Merlyn is also going to show up in the crossover episode. He is now the leader of the League of Assassins. His daughter is Thea. She's not pictured. Thea is Oliver's sister. She is also now a part of Team Arrow. She goes by Speedy. Laurel and Felicity, I had to put them in the Slice Station simply because there was not enough room on the board for all of the Arrow characters. Felicity Smoke, computer girl boss. She is currently dating Oliver Queen. They are madly in love, and both of them are so happy for the first time in their entire lives, and I'm not joking. Laurel comes up in part 2 of the crossover. She is lawyer by day, canary by night. She's the Black Canary, the potential baby mama for Oliver's baby. She will make an appearance. As far as the crossover is concerned, the plot of Arrow does not matter. The entire plot literally stops. You don't need to know anything about the plot of Arrow season 4. You don't. It's beautiful, it's brilliant for the purposes of this video. But if you're watching Arrow season 4 and you get to episode 8 and you're not expecting the crossover, Oh my god, it's the craziest experience. They are currently fighting a magic user named Damien Dark. There's an H in there somewhere. So without further ado, let's jump in to the first part of the crossover. I'm gonna turn the lights back on. Episode 8, Legends of Today. Barry is still in his depression era. No amount of pep talks are going to get him out of this. Harry informs us that Zoom is currently 4 times faster than Barry. Barry is like, I wish there was some way I could, like, get my speed back more quickly. Harry seems to, like, have a little idea. We are at the docks. A boat has just docked. Some dudes step off it. The captain of this boat has a prisoner, and he is turning this man over to the authorities. This is the prisoner. He is talking all kinds of nonsense about a sacrifice. Okay. And then his handcuffs magic off of his wrist and poof onto another dude's wrist. And then the cop is like, oh my god, who taught you that, Houdini? This fucking guy says, no, I taught him. Creepy dude kills 5 people on the docks and then wanders off into the night. Title screen. There's an arrow that goes through the flash letters. It's quite fun, actually. Kendra and Cisco are having a redo of their date. She set up a really cute date at Jitters. They're there after close. Creepy guy from the docks busts into Jitters and is like, Priestess Shayara, it's been a long time looking for you. Kendra is like, I don't know who you are. Who the fuck is Priestess Shayara? Cisco sends an SOS to the Flash and is very fortunate that Barry gets there just in time to save both of them from this creepy guy killing them, and then the creepy guy runs away. After the Flash saves Cisco and Kendra, Cisco goes, oh my god, thanks Barry. Barry's just like, girl, right in front of Kendra? Really? So they have no choice but to take her back to Star Labs and introduce her to the whole gang. They're like, hey Kendra, who is that guy? She's like, sorry to this man. Barry is like, listen, that guy, there's some weird shit about him. Like, it's giving magic vibes. It's giving, woo! I'm not equipped for magic. But you know who is? Oliver Queen from Starling City, because he is currently fighting Damien Dark, who is a magician of sorts. They decide that the best course of action is just to crash whatever Oliver is doing and drop Kendra off in the Arrow Cave. Cisco is like, hey Barry, you think Oliver and his friends might be a little busy? Like, are you sure they'll have time to help us out? And Barry just shrugs his shoulders and goes, what could they possibly be doing? We cut over to a scene where Damien Dark is laughing maniacally and killing people. Damien says the craziest exposition sentence I've ever heard in my life. Like, listen to this. They could have at least tried to hide this chemical bomb. Serves them right. It's getting stolen and used against them. Arrow writers, you are so good at what you do. Oliver and the team show up to try and kick his ass, and Damien Dark ends up kicking their asses, has them literally on their knees, about to fucking die. He's got Oliver in a death grip.
Night, night.
And Barry runs in really quick, just grabs them all, whoop, 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 right out of Damien's little fingers. What the fuck, Barry? Why didn't you just kill Damien Dark when you had the chance? He wasn't expecting it. You could have just super sped by, fucking killed the man, and then we could have ended so much drama. Diggle throws up after Barry super speeds him away, and then Oliver is like, Barry, the fuck, bro? I had that handled. Why are you coming in here and manhandling my missions? And Barry's like, listen, dude, I need your help. We have a situation. Oliver agrees to let Barry and Cisco bring Kendra to the Arrow Cave. In the Arrow Cave, we get introduced to all of the characters. Kendra is like, OMG, not only did I just meet the Flash, but I also get to meet Oliver Queen in the same day. She doesn't give a fuck about the Arrow. Oliver's trying to figure this out. He's like, hey Kendra, tell me everything you know. And she's like, I don't know anything. Barry draws a speed sketch of the creep who attacked them at Jitters, and then Felicity runs that sketch through facial recognition, and they find a photo of the exact same guy. It's from 1970. At Star Labs, Caitlin and Harry are working together to make a speed drug for Barry. Speedy steroids, if you will. Everyone leaves the Arrow Cave and they go to the Queen Loft, and they're all having a good time. They're drinking, they're chatting, they're reminiscing, they're talking about things that have been going on. Oliver is like, I am so happy. For once in my life, me and Felicity, we're in a really good place. Like, I feel like over the moon, you know, like nothing could ruin what we have right now. Cisco tells Barry about the vibe he got of Kendra being a bird woman. That was details that you probably should have shared in the Arrow Cave, but he didn't share that because he doesn't want Kendra to know that he's a meta because he thinks that will freak her out, and then that'll ruin their relationship. Cisco, I have news for you. Something even worse is about to ruin your relationship. Oh my god! Can these people not have a moment of peace? Because Creepo has just bust through the fucking window of the Queen Loft, and now they have to fight him, dressed in their pretty little party outfits. They end up pushing him off the window. He falls to the ground, and when they look down to see a body, no body. Bro is gone. They go back to the Arrow Cave. Cisco finally tells everyone that he saw a weird vibe of Kendra as a bird, and then Kendra is like even more confused. Like, the confusion is just stacking right now. She's got a full inventory of confusion. Then all of the lights turn off, and then they turn back on again. And there is Malcolm Merlyn, and he says, "There's so much more you don't know." Meanwhile at Star Labs, Caitlin cracks the code for their new speed drug, which they are calling Velocity 6. Jay shows up to the lab, and he is like, "The fuck do you say about Velocity 6? Harry, keep that shit away from Barry. You keep that away from Barry, you don't fuck with the Speed Force. You cannot use drugs to enhance the Speed Force." In the Arrow Cave, Malcolm Merlyn explains to everyone that this guy that keeps attacking them, his name is Vandal Savage, and he is an immortal. Vandal Savage has been alive for nearly all of human history. Patty is just like walking down the street when she sees Harrison Wells getting into a car. Kendra and Cisco are having a little chat, and she is like, "Cisco, what the fuck is wrong with me? What is going on? Like, I don't know. What, like," and then Cisco's like, "Kendra, it's okay, girl. You are strong and beautiful, and everything is so confusing right now, but, like, I feel you, because I've been there with my powers, you know, so I know exactly how you're feeling, so just, like, take it from me, someone who understands you on, like, a molecular level. You're gonna get through this." And then they lean in for a kiss, and a fucking Birdman swoops down from the sky, snatches up Kendra, and flies away with her. Kendra's on the rooftop with this guy that just snatched her. This dude down here, this Tobias Eaton divergent looking motherfucker down here, he's like, "Hey, Shayara, it's me, Prince Khufu. Shayara, you need to emerge right the fuck now, okay? Hurry up and emerge, bitch." Obviously, the Flash and the Green Arrow are pursuing the Birdman because he just fucking abducted Kendra, the woman they're trying to actively protect. So they go after Birdman, they fight him, they capture him, they bring him back to the Arrow Cave, they tie him up in there. Back in Star Labs, Caitlin and Harry are arguing about V6, and she finally convinces him to not use it on Barry because Jay says it's dangerous, and even though Harry agrees not to use the drug, he still calls Jay a total pussy. Caitlin walks away, and as soon as she walks away, Patty comes in to the lab, and she sees Harrison Wells, and she shoots first and asks questions later. Harry Wells is on the ground, bullet in his chest, because Patty fucking shot him! Caitlin comes back and she's freaking out. She's like, "Oh my god, why did you do that? Did Joe not tell you about Harry?" And Patty's like, "No." In the Arrow Cave, they got Birdman tied up, and he starts dropping some lore, okay? His name's Prince Khufu, like I said, and he and Kendra, they're lovers. They're soulmates. They are actually tied to each other. His real person name is Carter, so I'm not gonna call him Prince Khufu anymore. Bro is Carter, and that is Kendra. Apparently, Kendra and Carter are soulmates, and they reincarnate every time they die, and then every time they reincarnate, they emerge, remember their true selves, and then they always find each other, and then they have to go fight Vandal Savage, because Vandal Savage is also tied to these two. These two have never been able to kill Vandal Savage. He bests them every time. How many times? 206 times. That's how many. Bro has killed Kendra and Carter 206 times.
Oh my gosh.
So then Malcolm Merlyn comes back into the Arrow Cave, and he informs everyone that Vandal Savage didn't just pussy off and leave. He went to go get a dangerous weapon called the Staff of Horus. So Felicity's like trying to find it. Back at Star Labs, Joe shows up and he tells Patty to get the fuck out of there, and he does not explain anything to her, and she is perplexed. She's giving Kendra right now. In the Arrow Cave, they released Carter from his chains. He's now a free man, and he and Kendra and all of our main cast are standing on top of the rooftop, and he tells Kendra that she needs to jump off the building, and then her wings will emerge, and she'll be good to go. All you gotta do is jump off the building. It's so simple. Kendra's like, I don't want to jump off the building. But Carter doesn't give her a choice. He pushes her off the building. Yeah, they're supposed to be lovers? If Vandal Savage doesn't kill her, then Carter fucking will. Anyway, she's falling off this building. Her wings do not emerge. Barry has to run down and save her before she splats on the pavement. Carter is like,
Oh my
OMG,
gosh.
something is blocking you, girl. We gotta throw you off the building again. They don't do that. And then Oliver Queen, supporter of women, is like, hey, I think we need to give Kendra some space to sort this out on her own. Have we ever asked Kendra what she wants? I didn't mention this. Any magic user or magical person will have a purple star on their pictures. Magic is different than metas. Meta-humans were created by the fuck-ass particle accelerator. Magic, that's a whole different ball game. Back at Star Labs, Harry's dying. Okay, they tried to stabilize him, but they can't get the bullet out. They need a speedster to phase through and grab the bullet. So Jay agrees to shoot himself up with V6, phase through, and grab the bullet out of Harry's chest. And that works, but Jay is, like, kind of pissed that he had to use the V6. Cisco and Kendra are back on the roof. Kendra's like, you know what, Cisco? I need to let go. I need to let go of everything. And I need to just jump off this fucking building and just be. And it's really giving that song from Diamond Castle that's like, believe, believe. Barry and Oliver go to track down the staff of Horus at some church, but they're too late.
Don't
Savage
you
is
know
already
that,
there.
Savage?
He already has the staff. Oh, no. That's crazy. They fight. The fight ends because Kendra jumps off the fucking roof and her wings emerge, okay? She's finally Hawk Girl. Vandal Savage senses that Kendra has her wings, so he dips from the battle with Oliver and Barry because Kendra is his main goal. His main goal is to blow up. Harry is alive, and he thanks Jay for saving his life. Jay is like, thank me by keeping that fucking V6 shit away from Barry. The new plan for the team and the Kendra and the Savage situation, they're gonna go to Central City and rendezvous with Laurel so that they can regroup and take down Savage once and for all. When they get to Central City, Oliver and Barry are at Jitters. Oliver is like flabbergasted that they made a coffee drink and named it after the Flash. What is this? Why is there no Green Arrow shake at McDonald's? While they're at Jitters, some random little boy who's definitely not plot relevant drops his Flash action figure on the ground, and Oliver bends down and picks it up and gives it to him, and he's like, thank you, mister. I'm going back to the mines. Little boy goes back to his mom, and Barry looks over, and who is his mom? Yeah, it's her. And then Oliver's like, wait a minute. Could that be my son? End screen. The stats for this episode, the character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry. He had 39. The character with the most quips was Cisco. He had 14. The character that I laughed at the most was Damien Dark, which is impressive considering he was only in one fucking scene. I laughed at him 11 times. And the character with the most kills was Vandal Savage. He killed 5 people. Arrow episode 8. Legends of Today. We open on ancient Egypt, the Middle Kingdoms. The Pharaoh is freaking out because the sky rocks are falling more frequently. The priestess Shayara is there, and she is like, this is a sign from the gods. Prince Khufu comes in, and he puffs his chest out a little bit, and then him and the priestess go into the hallway, and they start making out. And guess who sees them? Vandal Savage. Imagine you just watched Damien Dark slaughter your favorite characters, and then the episode ends on a cliffhanger, and the very next thing you see is ancient Egypt, the Middle Kingdoms.
Don't you know I'm a savage?
Kendra wakes up from this dream that she just had, and she's now in a car. She's next to Carter, and he's like, hey, are your memories coming back? And she's like, nope, not a damn thing. Crazy. The team arrives at a farmhouse on the outskirts of Central City, because that's safer than going to Star Labs. Who is the team? Glad you asked. We got team leader, Oliver Queen. He's calling the shots, as he usually does. Second in command, Barry Allen. I didn't cut the fucking strings off! No! The Geek Squad, consisting of Felicity Smoke, computer geek, Cisco Ramon, geek of everything else, and Caitlin Snow. She's also here. Laurel Lance. She has finally joined us. She has graced us with her presence. She doesn't really do much. Neither does Diggle, to be honest. Thea is also here, and she is also hanging out with Laurel. Vandal Savage has the dangerous Staff of Horus. They cannot touch the Staff of Horus with their bare hands because it has some kind of energy shield on it, and it will kill them if they touch it. So the Geek Squad needs to make them some kind of gauntlets that will allow them to grab onto the Staff of Horus. Laurel and Thea are gonna go track down some leads off screen. They're going to come back with a very important plot device. Kendra and Carter need to train. So Carter's going to take her out back and show her how to fight. What's Oliver doing? He's got business. Felicity's like, Oliver, what is this business? And he's like, stocks, bonds, golden parachutes. Listen, Felicity, I gotta track something down. It's not about Vandal Savage, but if I'm right about this, then I'll tell you. But if it's nothing, then it's truly nothing to worry about. Cisco tries to talk to Kendra, but Carter cock blocks him, and he pulls her away because they're fucking soulmates, Cisco. Get a grip. He shows Kendra her special bird mask, and she gasps, and she's like, I am not ready. I'm not ready to be the bird. Carter's like, listen, Kendra, as you continue to emerge, you will become more and more ready. You'll remember your skills from your past lives, like languages that you used to know, and other shit like fighting and muscle memory. It'll all come back to you. And she's freaking out. She doesn't want that. What is Oliver doing? He is stalking his baby mama and her son. Oliver initiates stalker mode and follows her around. He catches her on the street corner. He approaches. Her name is Samantha and her son's name is William. He's like, hey girly pop, is that my son? And she is like, no. Oliver is able to sneak a little hair sample off of William's hat. Oliver gets a phone call from none other than Malcolm Merlin, who has just arranged a meeting with Vandal Savage. So Barry is running to go to this meeting, and while he's running, he sees one of those totally awesome and not infuriating at all signals that he's about to time travel. Before the meeting starts, Malcolm is like whispering to Oliver and Barry, and he's like, listen, the League doesn't know anything about Vandal Savage. This man is fucking terrifying to me. And I'm not scared of anything. This guy, scary. And if I'm afraid of him, then you bitches should also be afraid. And Vandal Savage is, of course, eavesdropping, and he walks in and he's like, there are many other reasons you should be scared of me too, motherfuckers. I am a scary guy. Title screen, and the title screen has the arrow letters with a lightning bolt that goes through them. Savage tells the three of them that they need to give him Kendra and Carter within 24 hours. And if they don't, he will blow up Central City, and then he will also blow up Starling City, and he will kill everyone. Malcolm is like, hey, I think we should give him Kendra and Carter. But the two heroes are like, we can't do that, dude. Back at the ranch, Oliver gets the whole team up to speed on what just went down, and Kendra is like, my life is not worth the lives of 2 fucking cities, okay? Just give me to the guy. Carter goes up to Kendra, and she's like, hey, do we ever just KMS? Carter's like, no, and this is why I make the plans and you don't, because that's a dumb idea. Carter tells Kendra that the key to unlocking her powers and getting her wings is rage. Laurel and Thea return with their VHS tape plot device, and they plug this fucking thing into the TV, and the whole team sits around and they watch a recording of this dude called Professor Aldous something or other. I literally don't know what his last name is. But this guy knows about Savage. He's a conspiracy theorist of sorts, and on this VHS tape, Aldous reveals that any item associated with Vandal Savage that has the same magical properties that he does could be used to kill him. So the team is like, we need to use the Staff of Horus and Uno reverse it on Savage. Oliver gives Barry that hair he plucked off of William's little head and tells him to run a DNA test. He doesn't tell Barry whose DNA it is or what he's testing for. When he gives Oliver the results back, the look on his face is quite the signifier that William is his son. He tells Barry to keep that shit away from Felicity. He does not want her to know. So, of course, next thing that happens is Felicity walks in, goes up to Barry, and is like, what's that paper you got there? And she snatches it from him, reads it, and discovers that Oliver is somebody's father. Oliver then goes and confronts Samantha again back at her home. She tells him that she never cashed the check that Moira gave him. Remember, Moira miscarriage money from Arrow season 2? She did not cash the Moira miscarriage money. Girl, why not? It fell into your lap. That's $2 million or some shit. Oliver is allowed to have a relationship with William on a few conditions that Samantha has set. She says that he is not allowed to tell anyone, and I mean anyone, that he has a son. She does not want her son to have any Oliver Queen related issues. Samantha, you got a big storm coming. Felicity confronts Oliver. She's like, hey, do you have anything you want to tell me? And Oliver says, nope, nothing to report. And Felicity gets mad. She's like, hey, dipshit, I saw the paternity test. I know you have a son. Why didn't you just tell me? We tell each other everything. How am I supposed to be in a relationship with you if you constantly lie to me and you keep things away from me? That is not how this partnership works. Felicity is not mad that Oliver has a son. That's not the issue. The issue is that he lied about it and didn't tell her. Barry Allen sees this go down, but he only sees the last part of this interaction where Felicity tells Oliver that he's a piece of shit. So he has none of the context about why Felicity is mad, and that is important. Oliver comes inside the ranch house, and they go over their master plan. The Geek Squad finished constructing the gauntlets, but they're not sure that they're going to work. Oliver wants to use Kendra's new abilities as their ace in the hole, their surprise, because Savage doesn't know that Kendra has all of her abilities now. I don't think Kendra even knows that she has all of her abilities now. People who are going to this fight, it's just going to be Oliver, Barry, Kendra, and Carter. He is not bringing anyone else. The rest of the team is going to sit at the ranch and they're going to play checkers or some shit while all of this goes down. It doesn't go down well. It goes down very bad, actually. Probably the worst it could possibly go. Carter and Kendra immediately die because Kendra is not able to get her wings to work properly. Ace did not get to the hole. The gauntlets do not work properly, and they cause a huge fucking explosion. I'm talking life-ending, world-ending, apocalypse-level explosion. It kills everyone. Their skin starts melting off, and the bones start melting as well. Barry has to leg it, and then he turns back time, obviously, like we predicted, and he ends up right back at the meeting with Savage after he just witnessed everyone in the cast burn and die. After the meeting a second time, Barry tells Oliver that their plan will not work. It's actually going to fail super bad because he just time traveled. Oliver's like, wait, I didn't know you could time travel. Have you done this before? And Barry's like, yes. And I know from experience that fucking with the timeline and doing things differently will have consequences down the line in the future. So we need to be really careful about what we do. But I also know that if we don't change shit up, that everyone's gonna fucking die. Oliver's like, okay, what went wrong? And Barry says, well, you? He explains that because of Oliver and Felicity's fight, Oliver was off his game. He thinks that Oliver has a child, and he thinks that it would be best to not tell Felicity anything about it, because that way they won't fight. Another thing they do differently is this time, instead of fucking Carter training Kendra in the art of rage, Cisco trains Kendra in the art of love. She expresses all of her concerns. She doesn't want to be Hawk Girl. She doesn't want to Hawk Tua on anything. Cisco is like, listen, Kendra, I get that this is overwhelming, but it's also really cool. Like, how many people can say they're reincarnated bird people? That's only you and Carter, dude. That's very impressive, and I think you should embrace it. And this really inspires Kendra to just let go of all of her fears and her doubts, and she has another ancient Egypt flashback, the most powerful one of all. In this memory, Kendra and Carter are laying down together, and then Savage comes in, and he says that their relationship is forbidden. A prince and a priestess cannot be lovers. Also, Vandal Savage kind of has a thing for Priestess Shayara. Carter and Kendra try to defend themselves from Savage, because at this moment, the sky rocks start falling from the sky. Everything's in chaos. Savage is doing some weird magic shit, so they start fighting him, and he kills both of them. They end up dying next to each other on the ground, and Carter tells Kendra that he will love her in every lifetime. Kendra reveals this memory to everyone, and it's like a big shock because Carter has never had an ancient Egypt flashback about like the day they actually were killed the first time. The meteors that fell are the key to defeating Savage. If they can get a piece of one of the meteors that fell that day and put it inside the gauntlets, then they'll be able to use the gauntlets to kill Savage. So Barry runs to a museum, steals a piece of the meteor. How convenient that he can just do that. The Geek Squad gets started on their new meteor gauntlets. This time when the team goes to fight Savage, it's everyone. The whole cast is going. This time when they fight Savage, he dies!
Oh my
They
gosh.
did it! They used the Staff of Horus to kill Savage. He is now a pile of ash on the ground, and Kendra and Carter are finally free from their prison. Oh my god, Maseo would be shaking. Cisco says goodbye to Kendra, who is leaving with Carter to go do some hawk tuaing somewhere else. Barry goes up to Oliver and he's like, hey, I'm worried about the timeline. Okay, we really fucked with it. So something bad is going to happen to us. Like, we might have saved the day today, but tomorrow, something way worse could happen. He's afraid that this way worse thing will take effect based on what Oliver decides to tell Felicity about William. What does Oliver do? Well, he goes to talk to Samantha again. He agrees to the same terms he agreed to before, but this time, Felicity has no idea about it. Oliver has a moment where he's playing with William. He introduces himself to the kid as a friend of his mom's, and they play Flash action figures. William has not only a Flash action figure, but also a Captain Cold action figure. If there are Flash and Captain Cold action figures, I can only assume there are a bunch of little kids out there who are making them kiss and then recording videos and posting them on TikTok. Last thing that happens in this episode is Malcolm goes to collect Vandal Savage's ashes, and he scoops them up and puts them in a jar, and he says, you owe me one, buddy. Hey, Malcolm, what happened to the, I don't know, Vandal Savage? I don't know anything about this guy. End screen. The stats for this episode. The character with the most dramatic pauses was Oliver. He had 53. The character with the most quips was Cisco. He had 9. The character with the most laughs was Malcolm. I laughed at him 5 times. And the character with the most kills was Savage. He did kind of kill everyone in the alternate timeline, but if you're not counting that, I also decided to count the 412 individual deaths of Kendra and Carter. Episode 9, Running to Stand Still. This episode starts with a sick-ass electronic version of the theme song. We have got to pause to address the music. The theme song itself goes so hard, and they remix it like all the time, and it's always awesome. Harry is running around Star Labs trying to outrun Zoom, which is dumb as fuck. Bro, if Zoom wants to catch you, Zoom is going to catch you. And Zoom does catch Harry, and when he catches him, he says, Merry Christmas. Title screen. And there's snow falling on the title screen letters. Iris and Joe are discussing what they're gonna get Barry for Christmas, and Iris suggests that Joe gives Barry his watch. Joe has this old-ass watch that is crusty, musty, and broken, but it's sentimental because Joe's own father gave it to him, and now Joe wants to pass that on to Barry. Iris goes to talk to Barry, and she breaks down. She's like, Barry, I have a secret and I cannot keep it in anymore. I found out that Francine had a son. Joe's son. Barry's like, girl, just tell Joe, okay? The longer that you keep this a secret from Joe, the worse it's gonna be. This will not be a Merry Christmas if you keep that shit to yourself. At Star Labs, Caitlin and Jay are flirting, they're yapping, and Cisco is like, ugh, just kiss already. Bro is bitter. Cisco is a bitter little man because his girlfriend sprouted wings and flew away with her lover. Caitlin invites Jay to the Christmas party that Joe is hosting at the West House, and he agrees to go with her as a little date. Need to point out, there's this dumb running gag that I believe starts in this episode where Caitlin will say something and then Jay will be like, what's that mean? What's that word? And then she'll go into crazy scientific explanations of what the thing is, and he'll be like, no, I'm just playing. We have that on Earth too as well. And it's never funny. I hate Jay. So nothing he ever does is funny. Then Harry comes into the lab, and he's looking haggard and drained of life. And Cisco's like, hey, man, are you okay? And Harry's like, why wouldn't I be? No follow-up questions. No one tries to help Harry out right now. No one presses him for any info. It's kind of sad. The snow is really coming down outside. Like, it's a crazy amount of snow. And that is because our good friend, Weather Wizard, is at it again. He is making a blizzard at Iron Heights prison so that he can bust in there and break out Leonard Snart. Snart is not the only man that Mark Martin breaks out of jail. He also breaks out the Trickster. Remember the Trickster? Oh boy. Trickster was in season 1. I kind of blew off the Trickster as this dumb, campy, annoying side quest character that just showed up for no reason, but there's way more to this character than that I was not aware of, and it might be very obvious to you, but it was not obvious to me because I've never seen Star Wars, and therefore went right over my head that the Trickster is played by Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill. I'm gonna be so fair with you. Not a guy that I recognize. Another fun fact about the Mark Hamill Trickster is that he also appeared in the Flash TV show from 1990 that featured John Wesley Shipp. The guy that plays Henry Allen played Barry Allen in the 1990s Flash, and the Trickster from that TV show was Mark Hamill. Same Trickster. He's reprising his role. It's a fun little cameo. With that context, now the entire Trickster plotline from season 1 was just an elaborate reference to Mark Hamill's entire career. Oops, guess I missed that one, guys. I'm sorry, I have face blindness, and also I just didn't know who that was. Sorry, I grew up in a Barbie household. What do you want from me? Anyway, once Miss Girl Patty hears that Mark Martin has just busted the Trickster and Captain Cold out of prison, this shit's personal for her. Remember, because Mark Martin killed her father. The Trickster, James Jesse, is out here singing the worst version of Deck the Halls that you could possibly sing. But okay, pop off, I guess. Mark Martin goes over his plan. He broke the two of them out so that they could team up and go after the Flash as a threesome. Because Martin witnessed Zoom destroy the Flash and parade him around the city, he is confident that if the three of them team up, they'll be able to kill the Flash once and for all, and then they can continue crimes in the city as before. Snart is like, yeah, that's cool and all, great, good for you, I'm happy for you that you have this ambition, I want out. I don't want to be in this. There's no money to be made in killing the Flash. At Star Labs, Cisco proposes that they create some kind of magic wand that could suck all of the moisture out of the air and stop the weather wizard, and thus prevent the weather wizard from weathering any wizardry. Wizarding any weatherdry? Weathering the wizarding the weather. Stop the weather wizard from wizarding the... Barry's like, hey, yeah, that's a great idea. You actually did that before in the alternate timeline that I erased. So I have faith in you that you'll be able to do that again. And that puts an unimaginable pressure on Cisco. He's like, well, what if I fuck it up now? Then I'm gonna look like a real big dum-dum. Iris tells Joe about his secret son, Wally West. Iris and Barry show up to their home and they find Leonard Snart, Captain Cold, colding it up in their house. He's just chilling, sitting on a chair, sipping a cup of hot cocoa. He complains that they're out of marshmallows. It reveals that the Trickster and Weather Wizard are teaming up to take down the Flash, and he's kind of warning them, but he doesn't go into any specific details about what their plan actually is. Joe feels like a failure because he's a fucking detective and he didn't find out about his own son, Wally West, sooner. The Trickster then makes a Christmas pun-filled broadcast where he calls out the Flash and is like, you gotta come face me. The team tracks the Trickster to an abandoned toy factory. Patty is also able to find out that the Trickster is at this abandoned toy factory, so she goes there unaccompanied. And the Flash is also there, so now it's Patty and the Flash. They're in this toy factory. The whole thing was a trap. The whole building's about to fucking explode, okay? Barry has to use his twister arms in order to save himself and Patty and get them out of that splody barn. And the Flash is like, hey, random cop that I've never met before, what are you doing here? What's your deal? Why are you trying to get yourself killed? Patty reveals the even more traumatic part of her traumatic past. The day that Mark Martin shot Patty's father, he went to the bank to drop off some money. It was supposed to be Patty who was making that delivery of money to the bank, and therefore, it should have been Patty who got shot. She blew him off that day to go hang out with her friends. Patty feels even more extra guilty, and she blames herself for her dad dying because it was supposed to be her. Trickster is out here dressed in a Santa suit. Oh my god, worst mall Santa ever. This is why I don't go to the mall during Christmas time. He is giving out gift-wrapped bombs to children. Zoom jumps out of the breach at Star Labs and he's like, Harry, are you ready? Did you make your choice? And Harry is like, I need more time. Zoom tells Harry that he only has one more day to make his choice. The Flash takes the magic wand and confronts Martin and the Trickster. They reveal that they have given 100 random children bombs. And if the Flash chooses to fight them and lock them back up in prison, those bombs will go off, killing 100 children and their whole families. Or the Flash could drop his stupid magic wand and let Mark Martin pummel him to death with hail. It's either your life or the lives of 100 random families in the city. And Barry's like, well, fuck, looks like I gotta die. While this is going on, the team needs to find a solution. Their plan is to round up all the bombs and chuck them through the breaches. They find one bomb and they're able to magnetize it so that when they throw it into the breach, all of the other bombs will stick to it and also go through the breach. This is going to cause an immense amount of property damage. This works. All of the bombs fly up into the sky, stick to one another, and then get shot through a breach. Everyone is safe. Barry is able to tie up the Weather Wizard and the Trickster. Patty shows up because she's the police, and she stuns the Flash. She hits him with like a bear trap, and Patty's got a gun, and she goes up to Mark Martin, and she's like, my name is Patty Spivet. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Barry, in this bear trap, he's like, no, random cop lady that I've never met before until yesterday. Don't do this. And Patty decides not to kill Mark Martin. Instead, she arrests him and she frees the Flash from the bear trap. Joe and Barry have a chat where Joe gives Barry his old beat-up crusty watch as a Christmas gift. At the West residence, it's time for that Christmas party. And, of course, Jay and Caitlin are there, and Caitlin's like, oh my god, we have to get under that mistletoe. And Jay's like, what's mistletoe? Someone else knocks at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Who the fuck is it? Wally fucking West is here, guys. End screen. After the end screen, Harry meets up with Zoom. And Zoom is like, what would you decide, bestie? And Harry's like, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll steal the Flash's speed if it means saving my daughter's life. Stats for this episode. The character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry. He had 61. The character with the most quips was Captain Cold. He had 6. The character that I laughed at the most was a 3-way tie. It's Barry, Cisco, and Harry, and I laughed at them all 3 times each. Episode 10. Potential Energy. Barry has a nightmare that Zoom kills Patty. Title screen. At Star Labs, Cisco comes in and he's like, guys, what if there was a way that we could steal Zoom's speed? Cisco tells everyone that there's a meta out there called the Turtle. He's not an actual turtle, okay? I thought it'd be funny to draw a Ninja Turtle. The Turtle can slow things down around him and create like a force field of slowness. He's an art thief. Cisco thinks that there might be a way to weaponize the Turtle's powers and use them to steal Zoom's speed. Here he goes to fight the Turtle. He loses majorly. Turtle basically sticks his tongue out at him and then walks away. Harry has to go to dinner with Joe and Wally. Wally does not show up and Joe's bummed out about it, and Barry and Iris end up talking. Iris suggests that Barry should tell Patty that he is the Flash. The team thinks they found a way to catch the Turtle. He will be robbing an art gallery. So their plan is to go to the art gallery. Barry tells the team that he's planning on telling Patty that he is the Flash. And they're all like, are we sure about that? And it's not because Patty, wouldn't be a good addition to their team, because she would. If Zoom knows that Patty knows who the Flash is, Patty would be a target for Zoom. So they go to the exhibit. Barry shows up with Patty. Caitlin and Jay are also there. Barry and Patty are in the middle of a little dance where he's about to tell her that he's the Flash, but OMG, Turtle shows up. So he's got to run away real quick and suit up and try and fight the Turtle. This fight does not pan out well for them. It ends with a chandelier falling down from the fucking sky. Barry, as the Flash, having to run so fast through the Turtle's slow fields to push Patty out of the way of the chandelier, and then Patty is dazed and confused. The Turtle is gone. Jay and Caitlin have to drag the Flash out of there, and Patty is like, What? Harry tells Cisco why Zoom is called Zoom. It's because the first time Zoom attacked, he killed all of the police in the police station except for one officer, who then went on to tell everyone that he saw like light zooming around. And then the next day, Zoom killed that guy too. And that's why they call him Zoom. Caitlin and Jay are drinking champagne out of beakers. When Barry gets to Patty's apartment to apologize, she is mad, okay? She did not have a good time at that dance. He ditched her. She almost fucking died. What's his deal, Barry? What is your deal? You need to decide right now. Make up your mind, because I am so super serious about this relationship with you. Like, I see a future with you, Barry Allen, but I need you to stop being such a little freak and just tell me whatever it is that you're hiding from me, because I know you're hiding something, dumbass. Wally is a drag racer, and I'm not talking the RuPaul kind. I'm talking like cars. His car has a fucking rocket blaster on it, and he wins a race, and the prize for winning this race is he gets his competitor's car. Joe is there, and he's like, hey, son, why are we doing this? What is this? This is illegal. I'm a cop, remember? Wally's like, listen, Dad, I'm only doing these races so that I can use the money I win to pay for my mother's medical bills. Joe is like, you could have just asked for money. Like, Francine, she was my wife. Like, I would give you money. Like, you're my son. That's your mom. Like, I would help you out. And Wally's like, no, I don't want any help from you. Patty is drinking some wine at her apartment. Barry left. He's contemplating or whatever. So she's alone in her apartment drinking wine. Turtle knocks on her door and kidnaps her. It's giving when Laurel got kidnapped by the doll maker. It's giving I've seen this movie before. It's giving reduce, reuse, recycle. The turtle kidnaps Patty. He takes her to his fucking lair, which is in like an abandoned museum or art gallery or something. He's got everything he ever stole just laying out in there. And this man is an actual serial killer. Okay, he killed his wife. He taxidermied his wife, and he has her in a box. Oh no! And he's planning on doing the exact same thing to Miss Girl. The reason that he kidnapped Patty is because he saw the way the Flash dove under that chandelier to save her, and he assumed that the Flash, like, really cares for her. And so he kidnapped her because he wants to deal the most emotional damage possible to the Flash. The Flash finds him. He manages to run fast enough that he can counteract the turtle's slow fields. He saves Patty, and they bring the turtle back to the pipeline. Patty, despite all of this shit, still has no clue that Barry is the Flash. She is still in the dark. Caitlin confronts Jay because she took a sample of his DNA off of the beaker that they were drinking wine out of. She knows that he is sick and dying. Jay says, very vaguely, that the only way to cure him is if they defeat Zoom. Wally and Joe have a chat, and they agree to take things slow. They're not gonna immediately jump into this father-son relationship. Patty tells Barry that she's done. She's moving to Midway City, and she is becoming a CSI because that was her dream, okay? She became a detective to avenge her father and stop Mark Martin. She did that. So now it's time for her to live her dreams of becoming a CSI. Harry is doing some serial killer shit. He's got his metahuman detector watch. This watch also has a voice memo feature on it. So he's recording a Buzz Lightyear mission log into his meta watch. He's recording these logs like he's talking to Jesse. He's like, Jesse, there is nothing that I wouldn't do to get you back. Even if it's dark and twisted and fucked up, I will do it. After this evil villain monologue, he goes into the pipeline, sticks something up the turtle's nose, fucking pulls a chunk of his brain out, and then the turtle's dead. And now he's got the turtle's brain in a tube. Guys, what? End screen. If that wasn't crazy enough, after the end screen, we see you, Marthon Reverse Flash is back! Why? Stats for this episode. The character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry. He had 49. The character with the most quips was Wally. He had 6. The character I laughed at the most was also Wally. I laughed at him 3 times. And the character with the most kills is a tie for Harry and the turtle. They both killed 1 person. Episode 11, The Reverse Flash Returns. The gang at Star Labs are hypothesizing about how they can use the turtle to counteract Zoom's speed when Jay and Caitlin run in, and they're like, guys, the turtle He's dead. Eobard Thawne is just chilling somewhere, yapping to his smartwatch Gideon. He's like, Gideon, my latest trip into the past has been a success. I now know what time period the Flash is from. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee-hee. Eobard still has his speed, but he's not fast enough to get himself back home. So that's his goal now, is to get himself back to the future. Title screen. At the lab, everyone is pointing fingers, accusing people of murdering the turtle. Jay is like, y'all, it was Harry. It was so obviously Harry. That man cannot be trusted. Barry is like, guys, shut the hell up, okay? Who cares who killed the turtle? We need to pivot, okay? New plan, new strategy, guys. Let's not dwell on this. Patty and Barry are at the CSI lab, and she is all depressed because she just told Barry she's moving and she has to leave everything behind. And she's like, I thought that we could still kind of like talk, you know? I thought we could still be together a long distance. And Barry's like, nope. Joe finally tells Iris that Francine is dying. Harry is testing his secret turtle brain samples when Cisco comes in and is like, I need your help. I need you to help me harness my powers because I think that our best chance of stopping Zoom is if I learn how to control my creepy vibe powers. And Harry is like, wow, Cisco, that's brilliant. I have a great idea on how to help you. So they go to the time vault. And in the time vault, Harry has dressed himself up as the Reverse Flash to jump scare Cisco. Because whenever Cisco has, like, adrenaline spikes, that's when his power works. And the easiest way to spike his adrenaline is to scare him. It's like when someone has the hiccups and you try to scare him. And then Cisco ends up having a vibe of the real Eobard Thawne Reverse Flash here, currently, presently, at Mercury Labs. What is Eobard Thawne doing at Mercury Labs? Well, he's kidnapping Tina McSlay. She needs to help him create some kind of fuck-ass tachyon device that will send him catapulting back to the future. Tina is like, oh my god, you fucking men in yellow suits just keep kidnapping me. What is up with this shit? Like, put me on your payroll at least. Eobard does not know who the Flash is. At the lab, Joe is confused about how Eobard Thawne is still alive. Didn't they, like, erase him from existence? And Harry is like, well, it's quite simple, you see. Eobard Thawne is a time remnant. Why do I get the feeling that time remnants are gonna be so plot relevant? Harry is like, this time remnant has to exist because something Speed Force. Eobard is not doing anything in the future. This is him from the past, and he has to exist in order for all of us to exist. My head hurts. Barry is like, hey Harry, time remnant expert, if I kill Eobard Thawne right now, will that save my mother? Harry's like, no, that's preposterous and stupid that you would even consider that. Dumb. Killing Eobard Thawne will not save Nora because Nora's death is a fixed point in the timeline and cannot be changed. Hey Harry, I would like your sources. I think you're making shit up. I think this is all bullshit. I think this is just time travel fuckery, time remnant ex machina bullshit. Caitlin tells Barry about Jay being sick and dying. Barry suggests that they find Jay's doppelganger and maybe they'll be able to, like, do some blood transfusions or some shit with the doppelganger because he'll be an exact DNA match. Iris and Joe go to see Francine in the hospital. She is dying. Francine is like, Iris, say whatever you need to say. Get it off your chest now before you can't say it later. Iris tells Francine that she forgives her. Barry and Caitlin cannot locate Jay's doppelganger. There is no Jay Garrick on Earth 1. What the fuck? Red flags should be raising. Patty goes up to Barry and she's like, hey Barry, I am low-key disappointed that you're not trying to fight for our relationship. You should be begging me to stay in Central City. You should be on your hands and knees begging, Patty, please don't leave. Patty, stay. Patty, please. Because, like, you could totally convince me. You totally could have convinced me to stay. Barry's like, it doesn't fucking matter, okay? Because everyone that I love always leaves me. That's kind of how the cycle of life goes for me. And Patty's like, you never told me that you loved me. And then Barry says, well, now I won't get the chance. Harry makes some modifications to those fuck-ass sleep goggles from season 1, and then Cisco puts them on. Cisco is able to enter the vibe dimension. I don't know what we're calling it. It's like the Speed Force, but for vibes, and we haven't even gotten to the Speed Force yet. In the vibe dimension, Cisco sees Eobard Thawne killing Tina McGee and then jumping through a tachyon device and yeeting himself back into the future. They have 3 hours to save Tina McGee before that vision becomes real. Patty is cleaning out her desk and she's going through some of Barry's old reports, his CSI write-ups. She is starting to connect some serious dots. Joe walks by and he's like, "Hey, what you doing?" And she's like, "Barry's the Flash." And he's like, whoa, Patty, what are you talking about? And she's like, "It all makes sense now. The way that his reports are so detailed, like to the T. It's because he is the Flash. It's because he fought all these people. It's because he was literally in the thick of it." And Joe is like, "No, that's preposterous. Have you ever seen Barry run? He waddles like a slow-ass duck." And that's a real quote from the show. Caitlin and Barry are still yapping about how they cannot find Jay Garrick. Error 404, Jay Garrick, Earth 1 doppelganger not found. Barry suggests that Caitlin just goes to talk to Jay, because Jay's one of the good guys, and he will surely just tell them the truth about, like, why they can't find his doppelganger. And she's like, "That's a great idea. Jay is such a good person, he will totally tell me the truth. He's so good and nice and awesome and handsome and sweet and good and wonderful and a good person. He's really good." Joe tells Barry that Patty has figured out that he is the Flash. And he's like, "Hey, you should probably just tell her. You know, she already knows, so just tell her." And he's like, "I can't do that, Joe. Harry convinced me that if I tell Patty that I'm the Flash, that she'll become a target for Zoom, and I don't want that. She is too much of a girl boss to get tangled up in my mess. She was already kidnapped by the fucking turtle." The tachyons release some kind of tachyon signature whenever that machine is powered on, so Barry's able to run to Mercury Labs, save Tina McGee, and destroy the tachyon machine so that Reverse Flash cannot go through and cannot leave. They have an epic speedster battle where the Flash absolutely decimates Reverse Flash, and he kidnaps him and he brings him to the pipeline. Now we're at Star Labs. Eobard Thawne is in the pipeline, pissed the fuck off, and Barry is like, "I want to talk to him." Harry's like, No. You keep your face away from that man, okay? Because the more you say to him, the more he will learn about us, and that could have some serious ramifications for the timeline. Harry's like, "Bitch, you literally told me that killing him would not save my mom. So what are you talking about right now?" Harry's like, "Yeah, well, you can't save your mom. Like, I know that for a fact. But, like, if you reveal too much to Eobard Thawne right now, it will have other ramifications for the timeline." Caitlin is like, "Hey, Jay, why don't you have a doppelganger?" And he is like, "There's a perfectly logical explanation for why I don't have a doppelganger, and I can't really tell you. It's hard to explain, but I can show you. So meet me at the park. Just you, come alone, and I will show you." Cisco does not heed Harry's warning, and he goes to gloat to the Reverse Flash. He's like, "I have you now. I am the reason that you are in that box. I kidnapped you using powers that you gave me. Remember this face?" When he leaves, his nose starts bleeding. It's giving Stranger Things. Barry goes to talk to Patty, and she's like, "Listen, if you tell me the truth right now, if you just lay it all out on the table, you tell me that you're the Flash, I will stay." And he says, "I am not the Flash." Barry, face covered, goes to have a chat with Reverse Flash. Reverse Flash reveals a couple of things. First, he got his powers by replicating the exact same conditions that got Barry his powers, because he idolized the Flash and he wanted to become him. After he got his powers, he realized that he's actually way better than the Flash in every way possible, and instead of them, like, teaming up, Reverse Flash decided, "I'm just gonna kill that guy." Barry is like, "Well, you lose, and you will always lose. Your destiny is to lose, because I am actually better than you." Suddenly, my guy Cisco starts having a seizure. But this shit isn't a normal seizure. This is a time seizure. Cisco, his soul literally leaves his body. He, like, turns into a ghost. I'm not joking.
It's the timeline.
What are you talking about?
When you captured Reverse Flash, we ruptured the timeline. That's what this and all. Cisco is being affected to.
Everyone is freaking out. Harry is like, "Barry, we have to get to Reverse Flash Back to the fucking Future. You have to let him out, because if you keep him in that cage, Cisco's gonna fucking die. Because Barry destroyed the tachyon thing that Tina McGee slaved over, they can't use that to send him back to the future. They have to do something else. Flash and Reverse Flash will run around the particle accelerator together, and their combined speed will be enough to open up the wormhole so that Reverse Flash can jump on through and run back to the future and do all of his evil shit that he wants to do there. And hopefully, when he gets back to the future, Cisco's soul will return to his body and everything will be fine. So that is what they do.
Who are you? No one of consequence. I doubt that.
Harry also says that this is the Reverse Flash's origin story, and there is nothing they can do to change it. They have to let it play out. Okay, Harry Wells, time travel expert, okay! And Cisco is A-okay, he's fine. He's not a ghost anymore. At the park, Caitlin meets with Jay, and he shows Caitlin his doppelganger. This man, his name is Hunter Zolomon. That's why they couldn't find anyone called Jay Garrick, because dude's name is Hunter Zolomon. He says that his doppelganger, Hunter, his parents died, he was an orphan, he got adopted by the Zolomons, that's why they have a different name. He also says that his cells are not a direct match with Hunter's, because Jay Garrick is a speedster, and Hunter, that's just a normal guy. Particle accelerator did not affect him. They won't be able to use Hunter to cure Jay in any way. He already tried all of this. Caitlin is satisfied with this, and she asks no further questions. Patty calls Barry, and she's like, Barry, I'm on the train, and there's a man with a gun. A madman with a gun is on my train. Ah! And then he's like, oh my god, stay calm, Patty, help is on the way. And then he flashes over the train. There's no man with a gun on the train. Everyone is confused. And Patty is just there like, hi, Flash. False alarm. He's like, I just wanted to make sure that everything was okay before you left, you know? And she's like, everything's okay, Flash. And he's like, okay. And then he runs away. And as he runs away, Patty looks out the window and she's like, goodbye, Barry. She got away. She dodged a bullet. Patty is safe. Patty is safe and sound, and that is all I ever wanted for her. Stats for this episode. The character with the most dramatic pauses was Harry. He had 43. Barry had 42. The character with the most quips was Cisco. He had 7. And Cisco also had the most laughs with 6. Episode 12. Fast Lane. We see a particle accelerator flashback. It's been a while since we've had one of those. It's just a random guy, and he ends up getting pushed into a vat of liquid tar just as the particle accelerator goes off. Title screen. Wally is at dinner at the West House with Iris and Joe, and he is like, OMG, I love drag racing. It's so fun. I love the wind in my hair and the speed on my car. Iris is like, hey, you should probably stop drag racing because that's actually really dangerous. You know what would happen to you if you crashed your fucking freak ass supercar with the jetpack on it? You know what would happen to you? You die. And Iris is mad at Joe because Joe is not parenting Wally. He is just letting Wally keep getting in that damn car and drag racing, and that is bad. And Joe is like, listen, I need to gain Wally's trust before I try to parent him. Harry is back on his Whisper Watch mission log thing, and he's like, I've made a development. I now can attach this fucking thing to Barry's suit, and I can steal the Flash's speed. Jesse, you're coming home to me. Barry comes in, and Harry has to hide the speed sucking device, and Barry's like, hey, I want to help you figure out how to close the breaches. And then Harry's like, dude, you cannot help me. The science that is needed to understand how to close these breaches, it hasn't been discovered on your Earth yet. You don't know shit about negative quark matter, okay? And Barry's like, but I could learn, and he speed reads all these books. Harry has no choice but to let Barry help him. Iris shows up to Wally's next drag race. She is dressed like a snack, and she immediately gets catcalled by every backup actor in the entire vicinity. And she doesn't call out this behavior as being bad. They didn't play this as a, ew, don't catcall me. They didn't do that. They just had that in the background for no reason other than to objectify Iris for a hot second. And it pissed me off. She's hot. We can see that. We don't need men whooping and hollering in the background. Iris goes up to Wally and she's like, hey, stop drag racing. And he's like, Nope. And then he gets in his car and he does another race. At the tar factory, Tar Man emerges from the tar pit and he's ready to get revenge on the two dudes who threw him in there in the first place. Harry activates the speed sucker, and it's this little device that he puts underneath the Flash emblem, and it's attached to Barry's suit. Cisco has developed an app that will give them metahuman alerts, so now they have a metahuman alert app. Barry and Harry are doing calculations and shit about how to close the breaches, and Barry's like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of old times when I used to do this with, like, the other you, like, the evil you. Like, even though he was evil, we still had good times, you know, like, he taught me a lot, I learned a lot from that guy, like, he was actually kind of chill sometimes, and this is just, like, old times, in a way. And Harry is like, shut up! Barry, stop that. This isn't like any times, okay? Because there will come a day when Zoom is gonna make me choose between you fuckers and my daughter. And I will always pick my daughter. I will betray you, Flash. Barry's like, yeah, you would think that, but like, I have faith in you, Harry. I know that you would never betray me. I am Jesus, and this is my supper. Barry is running to investigate a Tar Man attack, and as he's running, Harry is able to siphon some of his speed off of the speed sucker, and then he's got a vial of speed, like speed in a bottle. It's like this electric orange liquid. The Star Labs crew is still working on figuring out who Tar Man is. They're calling him Tar Pit. Cisco's like, hey Barry, your speed was slower than normal, like about 100 miles an hour slower. And Barry's like, I don't feel any different. It's probably nothing. There's a B-plot in this episode where Iris is, like, trying to stop Wally from drag racing. So she goes and she puts herself in harm's way. And then Wally is like, Iris, stop it, okay? You can't stop me from drag racing, so stay out of my shit, stop getting involved, pretty please. And she says, no, I will not stop getting involved because you are doing something dangerous, and I love you, and I care about you, and I want you to live, Wally. Barry and Harry are still cooking up their breach shit, and Barry actually has an idea on how to close them, which impresses Wells because, like, it might just work. Harry meets with Zoom, and he gives Zoom the vial of liquid speed that he stole from the Flash. Zoom injects it, and then he demands the rest of the Flash's speed or he will torture Jesse. Barry and Harry attempt to close a breach with their new breach closing device, and it works. At the next street race, the ground starts to wobble and shit. Tar Pit, like, attacks, and he literally almost kills Wally. Barry runs in and saves Wally. He's not fast enough to reach a shard of glass that, like, came off of one of the car windows, and this shard of glass stabs Iris in the chest. Iris is going to be okay. She wakes up in the hospital. She's hanging in there. Barry is like, oh my god, I should have been fast enough to grab that. Some shit is not adding up. I think I'm dying. Harry finally confesses that he has stolen some of the Flash's speed and given it to Zoom. They get mad. They lock him in the pipeline for a minute. Harry wants them to just send him back to Earth 2 and then close all the breaches and forget about him. Barry manages to convince everyone on the team not to give up on Harry, because they've all done bad shit under duress. Listen, Cisco, you literally made Captain Cold's cold gun, and we forgave you. You're still a part of the team, so we need to forgive Harry and not give up on him. And then Barry suggests that they all take a field trip to Earth 2. End screen. The stats for this episode: the character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry. He had 66. The character with the most quips was Cisco. He had 6. And the character I laughed at the most was a tie between Cisco and Joe. I laughed at them both 3 times each. The character with the most kills was the tar guy. Episode 13. Welcome to Earth 2. I regret to inform you that when I first recorded episode 13, my audio got corrupted. I can't show you the board right now because it's Spoiler Town, which is really unfortunate because this is one of the episodes where, like, the board really mattered. But I'm gonna have to sit down for this one and keep your eyes away from that shit because I don't want to give away the Zoom reveal too early. Harry is doing another one of his creepy voiceover logs where he is telling Jessie that he is about to come back to Earth 2 and get her ass. Title screen. Barry has been closing all of the breaches because their breach closing device is working. So they're closing all of the breaches and they're leaving the one in Star Labs open so that they can travel to Earth 2, save Jessie, and then come back. Cisco writes a letter to his family. In case he doesn't make it back, he wants Caitlin to give it to his brother Dante. Cisco, Barry, and Harry go through the breach and they get to Earth 2. When they travel through the breaches, it's a very similar visual to when Barry was time traveling in season 1 when he went back to the past. We saw all these random images of like his future and other characters. This time, while they're traveling interdimensionally, we see like a quick little image of Supergirl. After the three of them make it to Earth 2, the speed cannon breaks. The speed cannon is what is making the breach stable. So Jay and Caitlin have to worry about that while they have to worry about finding Jesse. Earth 2 is actually very interesting. It has this retro-futuristic aesthetic to it. They've got way advanced science. They have advanced civilization. But their aesthetic is like 1920s speakeasy flapper girls. The Three Stooges go to Star Labs and they run into Henry Science while they're there, and they freak out because that guy's like supposed to be evil, but on Earth 2, he's just a normal guy. And this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to people's doppelgangers not being anything like them. They're in Harry's lab, the news is on, we learn that their mayor is a snart, not sure which one, but it's giving Gotham when like the Penguin takes over the government and then starts giving out crime permits. Barry's doppelganger is there, and he is telling everyone that Detective West is on this case, and they will find Zoom, and they will bring him to justice. Then Barry gets the bright idea to kidnap Barry too, impersonate him, and then go to the police station, because if Joe is still a detective, then he'll be able to just ask Joe what's going on. Easy peasy, right? They lock his ass in a closet. Barry too is like a giga nerd. Like when you look up nerd in the dictionary, he is what shows up. He's got a bow tie and wire-rimmed circle glasses. And Barry takes his shit, knocks him out, goes to the police department, and is ready to ask Detective West what is up. When he gets to the police station, we learn just how topsy-turvy Earth 2 is when it comes to the doppelgangers not being anything like they are in Earth 1. Captain Singh is a crook who is under arrest. And Floyd Lawton is also there. Floyd Lawton as in dead hot, dead shot. Floyd Lawton? Or what would you do, if Floyd Lawton was standing right there? Floyd Lawton? Barry sees him and he's like, oh my god, Deadshot. And then Floyd gets mad because they call him Deadshot to mock him because bro cannot shoot a gun. Floyd Lawton cannot shoot for shit. It's actually hilarious. Detective West comes in and it is not Joe. It's Iris, bitch. Iris West is Detective West. And on Earth 2, Iris and Barry are married, so she pulls Barry into the hallway and starts making out with him, and he's like, what the fuck? She takes him home to their home that they share together because they are married. Then we flash over to what Caitlin's doppelganger is doing, and this bitch, she is literally killing it. Caitlin's doppelganger is evil, and she has Elsa Frost powers. She calls herself Killer Frost. Also with Killer Frost is her boyfriend, Ronnie Raymond, aka Deathstorm, as in evil Firestorm. Ronnie is suppressing Stein, so he's in full control of Deathstorm. So Deathstorm and Killer Frost are like a fire and ice, like boyfriend-girlfriend couple. It's actually everything. They're actually so slay and so iconic. Deathstorm and Killer Frost are working for Zoom, and they have just gotten word that some breachers have crossed over into their world, so they are now after the breachers. At home, Iris too is like, Barry, your mom called. She left you a voicemail. You should probably call her back. And Barry is so stunned. He's like, oh my god, my mom? On Earth 2, Nora Allen, she's alive. So Barry gets to call her and hear her voice, and it's really emotional for him. She thanks him for the tickets to Atlantis, which is a real place on Earth 2, and apparently it's a tourist attraction. Barry then goes to Jitterbugs with Iris 2, and yes, Jitterbugs is like the jazz lounge version of Jitters, which is actually so fun. Joe West is performing. He's a jazz singer at this jazz club, and he's actually killing it, and this will not be the last time that Joe West sings. Barry is like, OMG, hi Joe, good to see ya. And Joe is like, Bartholomew, get the fuck away from me, I hate you. Yeah, Joseph does not like Bartholomew. They're beefing, actually, because Joe blames Barry for Iris becoming a detective. He doesn't want her to be a detective because that's a dangerous job, puts her in Zoom's crosshairs, and he believes that she only took the job to fund Barry's PhD, and he's not a fan of Bartholomew. On Earth 1, there's a new meta out here. His name is Geomancer, and he is throwing rocks or something, like, really dumb meta, to be honest. They're just... anyone can be a villain these days, I suppose. So Geomancer is out here throwing rocks at people's windows at midnight. Wrapped around your finger, anybody? This Geomancer guy's out here throwing rocks, and Joe is like, hey Jay, you mind using some of that velocity 6, speeding up, and then going to fight this guy? Because Barry's out of commission. So you're up, Flash. Jay is like, I can't do that. I'm so sorry. I'm actually going to reveal my traumatic past to you. I got addicted to V6 when Harry made it on Earth 2, and Velocity 6 is the reason that I'm losing my speed. Zoom didn't steal my speed. I'm losing it because Velocity 6 is deteriorating my body. Caitlin promises to help find him a cure. At Jitterbugs, Deathstorm and Killer Frost show up, and they are looking for the Breacher. They know he's in that building. Fight breaks out. Deathstorm ends up hitting Joseph with a fireball. So after Deathstorm and Killer Frost fly away, Joseph is on the ground, literally dying. Barry and Harry are arguing at his lab, because Harry doesn't want Barry to get involved with any of the Earth 2 doppelgangers. Joe 2 and Iris 2 are not his Joe and his Iris, and he needs to stay out of their lives. And Barry is like, I'm sorry, I can't stay out of this. I'm balls deep and I cannot pull out. So he goes to the hospital to see Joseph and Iris 2. Joseph flatlines in the hospital. Barry and Cisco go to the police station, and they manage to convince Iris 2 and Floyd 2 to let them tag along when they go fight Deathstorm and Killer Frost. Caitlin has just developed the latest version of Velocity, Velocity 7. She gives it to Jay. He goes out to fight Geomancer. They aren't able to take him down just yet, but he'll be back, I'm sure. Cisco, Barry, Iris 2 and Floyd 2 arrive at the location where they're going to be fighting Killer Frost and Deathstorm. Before the fight starts, a third meta enters the chat. Yeah, it's Cisco's doppelganger, Reverb. I am obsessed with Reverb. Bro is so cool. He has harnessed his vibe powers, and he is the most powerful guy. Period. I'm very proud of my drawing of Reverb. You can kind of see him, I think, right? Here he is. That's my best drawing, I fear. Reverb's like, hey Vibe, how about you join me? Team up with me, and then we can take over the world together. And Cisco doesn't want to be evil, so they fight. This fight doesn't go well for Barry. He is getting beaten within an inch of his life by Reverb and Deathstorm. And then Killer Frost is like, guys, you have to stop. Okay, Zoom wants him alive. You cannot kill the Flash. But they're not planning on stopping. Zoom runs in. He kills Reverb and Deathstorm. Leaves Killer Frost alive because she actually listens to him. And then he takes Barry back to his lair. End screen. Barry is now locked up in Zoom's lair with Jesse and another guy who's wearing a mask, and he cannot speak and we cannot see who he is, and all he can do is tap on the bars of his cage. Zoom comes in and is like, Flash, this is the last place you will ever see. The stats for this episode, the character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry. He had 59. The character with the most quips was Cisco. He had 6. The character I laughed at the most was Reverb. I laughed at him 5 times. And the characters with the most kills was a tie between Zoom and Ronnie 2. They both killed 2 people. Episode 14, Escape from Earth 2. Gee, I wonder if they'll escape from Earth 2. Zoom is running around Earth 2, writing Bring Me Wells on a bunch of buildings. Cisco brings Harry up to speed on everything that went down with the fight with Killer Frost and Deathstorm. Zoom is after them, so they have to hide. Who else is at Star Labs? Barry 2. Remember, they had him locked in a closet, so Bro is back and Bro is mad. Title screen. They let Barry 2 out of the closet, and he is giving Draco Malfoy realness. He's like, my wife will hear about this. Zoom is after them, so these 3 goons have to hide in Star Labs. Harry has an invisibility gun that shoots like an invisibility wall in front of them, so Zoom comes in, He doesn't see them because they're invisible, and then he runs away. It's giving Harry Potter invisibility cloak. Like, the only way that this could get more Harry Potter is if fucking Tom Felton just showed up for, like, no reason. Guys, there's no way Tom Felton ever shows up in The Flash. That'd be such an odd thing. Jessie and Barry are trapped in Zoom jail, and Barry's like, Jessie, don't worry, Harry is coming to save us. And she has no faith in her self-centered, narcissistic father. He is not coming for her. He doesn't give a fuck about her. And Barry's like, no, you're dead wrong. All he wants is to save you. All he wants is Gucci and Chanel. Okay, like, he will be here. They also are looking at Tappy, and they're trying to figure out what his deal is. He keeps tapping on the glass, waving through a window. Zoom comes to the lair, and he explains some things. Let's not get this twisted. Once he gets Barry's speed, he's going to kill Barry, and then he's going to kill Jessie in front of Harry, and then he's going to kill Harry too. So all of them are dying. We saw what he did to Reverb, King Reverb. What the fuck was that? Like, I'm mad. On Earth 1, Jay manages to stabilize the breach, which will give Harry, Cisco, and Barry 24 hours to go through it before it closes back up. Caitlin has been cooking up Velocity 8. How many goddamn velocities are there? She's got Velocity 8 now, and she's still worried that it'll worsen Jay's condition if he takes it, but they still have to fight that meta that's running around. Jay is like, Caitlin, I don't care if it kills me. I will take the Velocity 8 and I will save the city, even if I die trying, because I am so noble. I'm such a good guy. Harry, Cisco, and Barry 2 go to talk to Iris 2, and they catch her up to speed on everything, and she wants to help them take down Zoom and save the Flash. The most reasonable plan they could come up with is to find Killer Frost and convince her to tell them where Zoom's lair is. Geomancer is back at it again, throwing rocks at people's windows. How scary. Jay has to shoot up with the newest rendition of Velocity, Velocity 9. V9 is the final boss of Velocity Drug. Jay shoots up with it, he goes and he tries to stop Geomancer. In Zoom's lair, Jessie and Barry figure out that Tappy is spelling out a 3-letter message. What is the message? J-A-Y. As in, Jay Garrick? Barry asks. Tappy nods excitedly. Yes! As in Jay Garrick, yes. Barry's confused. He's like, Jay's not here, okay? Like, I don't know what you're fucking talking about, bro. Jay is trying to help us, but he's not here. And Tappy is mad. He's like, fuck. Zoom comes in and tells Tappy that he needs to stop fucking tapping, okay? Because if he yaps anymore, he's cooked. In retaliation for them talking to Tappy, Zoom phases through Barry's cell wall, beats the shit out of him, and then phases back out. Barry is like, oh my gosh, all I have to do to get out of here is phase through the wall. Iris 2, Barry 2, Cisco, and Harry confront Killer Frost, and they convince her to take them to Zoom's lair. Caitlin, back on Earth 1, thinks that she found a way to cure Jay, and she's really excited about this new development. Barry attempts to phase through his cell wall, but he cannot do it because this Earth vibrates at a higher frequency than Earth 1, and he needs to go much, much faster to phase through the glass, and he just simply cannot do that. Joe arrests the Geomancer. Jay saved the day. We love to see it. An alarm goes off at Star Labs, alerting them that the breach is about to close in on itself, so they really have to fix that, or Barry is never coming back home. Killer Frost is able to bust open Jessie's cell door, so Jessie's free, but she cannot freeze Barry's door and break it, so he has to phase through it, but he can't. He's like, guys, just leave me here. Go through the breach, get yourselves to safety. And Barry, too, is not having this shit. He's like, I might not know what's going on around here, but I know one thing. You can do it. Just envision yourself on the other side of the glass, and then, bro, you'll be there. He does. With the power of envisioning, Barry Allen phases through the wall. Before the gang can make their getaway, Zoom speeds in, and he starts attacking. Killer Frost ends up helping them out. She fights Zoom, and she holds him off for just long enough for them to get out of there. Barry promises that he's gonna come back and save Tappy. The Star Labs nerds are able to stabilize the breach. Everyone makes it back through. They say goodbye to their doppelgangers. Everything is fine and great. And Caitlin can save Jay, and we all lived happily ever after. Is what I would say if I was a liar. Once everyone gets to the breach, Zoom reaches his hand through the breach, impales Jay, and then pulls him through the breach. And then it's closed forever. Bye, Jay Garrick, you will not be missed. End screen. The stats for this episode: the character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry, he had 44. The character with the most quips was Cisco, he had 6. The character I laughed at the most was Barry 2. I laughed at him 4 times, and the character with the most kills was Zoom. He killed Jay Garrick. Thank you, bestie. Episode 15, King Shark. Caitlin is in distress because the cycle of men that she loves dying is repeating. Harry is like, so sorry to say it, your man is dead, and there's no way to reopen the breaches because something science can't do it, sorry. Title screen. Harry suggests that Barry and Cisco keep their yappers shut about everything they saw on Earth 2 because the Earth 2 doppelgangers are not the same as the people who are currently living amongst them on Earth 1. The shit that happened to Joe 2 and Iris 2 does not matter, and they should just forget about it and move on. Because that's not their monkeys, not their circus. And that is what they do. And they just had to accept that there was nothing they could do to fight Zoom anymore. Zoom is gone. There's no way to reopen the breach. There's no way to get to him. It's over. At Argus, y'all remember Argus? We have a scene with Lila and Diggle. Lila is Diggle's wife. They are officially married. And Lila is now the new director of Argus. Please do not ask me what happened to Amanda Waller. I couldn't possibly get into that right now. An alarm goes off at Argus, and Lila is like, holy shit, King Shark escaped the Argus aquarium. And Diggle is like, you bitches have an aquarium. Barry is acting really depressed, and Joe and Iris assume that this is because of whatever happened on Earth 2, but Barry will not tell them what happened on Earth 2, so they can't help him. Cisco is worried that Caitlin is going to turn into Killer Frost. He is worried that Jay's death is the Killer Frost origin story. Barry is like, dude, chillax. That's not gonna happen. That's Caitlin we're talking about. Diggle and Lila bust into Star Labs, and they're like, guys, we have a problem. King Shark, he's out. Listen to this line that Diggle says with his mouth. That's what Argus wanted you to think when they snatched him up. But believe me, this half-shark is very much alive, and his biological imperative is telling him to do only one thing. That's kill you, Barry. Somebody ate too much ABC soup before they shat that line out. Cisco slips up and tells Caitlin about Killer Frost, and she's like, that's what you're worried about? You're worried I'm gonna turn into evil Elsa? Go relax. Like, yes, I am depressed. Yes, I am repressing my J-related death emotions. I'm not gonna turn into a frost monster. At home, at the West House, King Shark shows up and rips the roof off the house and then attacks them. Wally is there, he's freaking out. Joe and Iris are like, holy shit, typical Tuesday. And then Barry runs off and fights him. Wally thinks that Barry just went and hid in his room. He gets kind of mad that Joe and Iris put Barry on such a high pedestal when bro went and fucked off. After the shark is out of the vicinity, Barry finally tells Iris and Joe about Iris 2 and Joe 2 and everything that happened, and he tells them that he and Iris were married, and that Joe died, and it's all his fault, and Barry feels responsible for everything that happened to Joe and Iris on Earth 2. The geeks found out a way to draw the shark out. They are using one of Cisco's cardboard cutouts as bait, because of course they are. I told you to remember the cardboard cutouts. They will be back again, believe it or not. Barry and the shark fight. Barry wins the fight by running on water and electrocuting him. Wally wants to be an engineer, and he wants to get into an engineering school, so he has to do a project to present to them. And then Joe's looking over this report, and he's like, damn, that's actually really cool, actually. And then he tells Wally that he treats Barry differently because of Barry's traumatic past, and he's always going to be really protective of Barry. But that doesn't mean that he loves Barry more than he loves Wally. A father's love goes all around. Cisco is tinkering with Reverb's goggles because he has those. He's trying to get the frequency right so that he can use them. When Caitlin comes in, pretending to be Killer Frost just to scare him, she's like, Cisco, there's no way that I could ever become Killer Frost because I don't have the meta gene. This is the first time that we've talked about the meta gene. I feel like they just threw that out there. The meta gene is what determines who can and cannot become a metahuman, and even if you have the meta gene, it's dormant until some fuckery happens to you that unlocks your powers. They have Jay's metal hat in Star Labs, and they put it in a glass box to memorialize him, and Barry promises the team that he will do whatever it takes to reopen those goddamn breaches and avenge Jay Garrick's death because Jay Garrick is so noble and heroic, and he was a true hero, and he was a true friend. End screen. On Earth 2, Zoom gets back to his lair with Jay Garrick's dead body. Tappy watches in horror when Zoom pulls back his mask to reveal his identity as Jay Garrick. That's Jay Garrick, my guy. That's Jay motherfucking Garrick. Who, what, when, where, why, and how? Those are the questions that I have. Jay Garrick is Zoom confirmed, and he just kind of sighs, and he's like, well, this is a complication. Stats for this episode. The character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry. He had 118. The character with the most quips was Cisco. He had 9. The character I laughed at the most was Diggle. I laughed at him 8 times. And the character with the most kills was King Shark. He killed 2 people. This show makes me so upset.
Episode 16.
Trajectory. Barry wants to get faster, so he tries to jump across a cliff. He has to go Mach 3.3 very quickly in order to make this jump. He does not make the jump, so Cisco has to catch him using some flying nets. Title screen. Cisco suggests that the team goes out and has some fun because they have been doing nothing but grinding, trying to get Barry to go faster for like weeks now. They need a break. So Barry agrees and they all go out to like a club together. Harry lets Jessie go with them, but only if she agrees to wear his metahuman detector watch like an ankle monitor. At the club, the gang gets shots and they toast to Jay. What a great guy that Jay Garrick is. Jessie gets embarrassed because her dad's dumbass meta watch keeps ringing because Barry and Cisco are in the vicinity and they're both metas, so of course it's gonna keep fucking buzzing. So she goes to the bathroom to try to get it off of her wrist. While she's in there, she accidentally presses the button that plays back Harry's creepy serial killer logs, and she hears them, and she learns everything that he did in order to get her back. While Barry and Iris are having an awkward discussion about how they're married on Earth 2, another speedster runs into the club, steals everyone's money, and then gets out of there. And everyone is like, oh my god, the Flash just robbed us. He's gone from streak to freak, and that is a real quote from the show. Jessie confronts her father about his creepy mission logs. She says that she doesn't even recognize him anymore, and then she storms out of the room and she's mad at him. Barry is confused. He's like, I thought the only way to become a speedster was to get hit with the dark matter from the particle accelerator. Who is this little twerp running around posing as me? And that's when Caitlin reveals Velocity 9, because up until this point, Barry had no idea there was a speed drug, and now he's mad because Velocity 9 could make him faster. The thing they've been trying to do for these past weeks is get Barry faster, and they've had V9 this whole time and they never told him about it. Caitlin and Harry are like, Barry, you cannot do speed drugs. The other speedster is back, so Barry goes out and tries to fight this guy. This speedster is a woman. Caitlin assumes that this woman could be Eliza Harmon, a scientist that helped her develop Velocity 9. She goes to Mercury Labs to talk to Eliza, and Eliza is like, oh my gosh, hi Caitlin, I have no idea what you're talking about. Velocity 9? What? No way, not me, girl. After Caitlin leaves, Eliza has a complete psychotic break and she shoots up with Velocity 9. She's addicted to that shit. Harry manages to convince Barry that it's a bad idea to do Velocity 9, so they destroy all of it so that Barry is not tempted. Eliza runs into Star Labs, locks Barry in the pipeline, and then demands that those nerds cook her up some more Velocity 9, or she'll kill Jessie. Cisco is standing next to Jay's fuck-ass metal hat, and he gets a weird vibe of Zoom. I wonder why. Eliza gets her V9, she shoots it into Jessie to test for quality. When it doesn't immediately kill Jessie, she's like, yes, perfect. And then she shoots herself up with it, and she runs out to do more crimes. Jessie is now seizing on the ground because the V9 they injected into her was too pure, and her body can't handle it. They have to do a blood transfusion between her and Harry, and because they're in a lab that is well lit with no shards of glass from the Merlin Global Building bulletproof glass wall on the ground, I will give this one a pass. Jessie is fine, and she is mad that they would just cook up more Velocity 9 for this terrible evil speedster. Eliza calls herself a Trajectory. Oh my god, title drop. Trajectory is out here running up and down a bridge, and if she keeps running up and down this bridge, it's going to collapse and kill everyone on it. So they release Barry from the pipeline, he runs out there, gets all the people to safety, and then the bridge collapses. And Trajectory is on one end of the bridge, and Barry is on the other end. And if he wants to get over there and stop her, he has to perform the Mach 3.3 cliff jump that he could not do at the start of the episode. So Barry gets into his Bolt the Superdog stance, and he launches himself across the gap, and he lands it. And then he's able to corner Trajectory, and he tries to stop her from injecting more V9 into her system. But she is a fiend for that stuff, and she cannot be stopped. So she injects more V9, and then she starts running, and she runs so fast that her lightning starts to turn blue. And then she burns up because her body simply cannot handle that speed, and she literally ran herself to death. Jessie runs away. She leaves Harry a voice memo about how she just wants to start a new life and she really doesn't want to be wrapped up in all of his shit. Like, if she's stuck on Earth 1, she's gonna go make the best of it. Bye-bye, Dad. I hate you. The team are about to connect some serious dots. They are patty spivoting up in this bitch. Eliza was on V9 when she was running her lightning turned blue. Okay, Zoom's lightning is also blue, which would indicate that Zoom is also somehow on V9, which would mean that Zoom is also dying, because we know from Jay, who was also addicted to V9, that he was dying, so that means Zoom is also dying. But what are the chances that Jay Garrick and Zoom have the same addiction to V9? Like, this shit's not exactly common. And then they're like, Barry punches the stand that has Jay's stupid metal hat in it, and he gives it to Cisco, and he says, you need to make sure. And Cisco grabs the hat, and he does his vibe shit, and he can confirm that Zoom is Jay Garrick. End screen. The stats for this episode: the character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry, he had 40. The character with the most quips was Cisco, he had 11. And the character that I laughed at the most was also Barry, I laughed at him 5 times. The character with the most kills was Trajectory, and I'm counting that because she did kill herself. Episode 17. Flashback. Now that Barry knows that Jay Garrick is the Flash, he's being extra super duper dramatic. He is dedicated to getting faster. He's reading all of these science books. He wants to take that guy down. He let himself get Eobard Thawne all over again, so this is very upsetting for him. Title screen. At dinner at the West House, Wally is there, and he's yapping about his engineering project, and he's like, the way that I like to go about my learning is by reading the journals of great minds from the past, like the very first guy to invent the thing. That's where all the good information is. And Barry is like, you don't say. So Barry immediately goes to Star Labs, gathers up all the nerds, and he says, guys, I'm gonna go back in time and have a chat with Eobard Thawne, and he is going to tell me how to get faster, because that motherfucker was faster than me, and I need to know how he did it. Harry, time travel expert, is like, that's the dumbest idea you have ever had in your entire life, Barry Allen. Going back in time would be catastrophic for the timeline. If Eobard Thawne discovers that you are from the future, you'll destroy everything and fuck up the world. But Barry is like, I don't care what happens to the fucking timeline as long as I learn how to go faster. That is literally all that matters. The plan is for Barry to time travel back to the episode in season 1 where Hartley was running around. Y'all remember Hartley? 2 things about Hartley: he is gay and evil. That's all you need to know. He's gonna sneak in there, have a little chat with Harrison Wells, where Harrison Wells is gonna teach him how to go faster, and then he's gonna run back to the future before anyone ever found out anything was wrong. Before Barry travels back in time, he is warned not to let the past versions of them find out that Harrison Wells is actually the Reverse Flash. So while Barry is running through the time stream to get back to the episode where Hartley attacked, some fuck-ass time demon jumps out of the time stream and yeets him out too early, like a premature baby fresh out the womb. He ends up showing up at the scene a couple hours too early, gets flustered, and Barry ends up having to fight past Barry, knock him out, steal his Flash emblem, because the Flash emblem from the past is different from the one that he currently has. So now he impersonates himself, finishes off the fight with Hartley and takes him back to Star Labs. At Star Labs, Barry starts fucking up the timeline immediately. And Barry remembers that Hartley had some kind of bombs in his hearing aids. And he remembers that Hartley used those hearing aid bombs to escape. And so Barry tells them that he's got a bomb. And they take the hearing aids, leaving Hartley with no means of escape. Barry immediately goes up to Harrison Wells, and he's like, "Hey, Harrison Wells, my mentor, my favorite guy, I need your help cracking this speed equation that I just pulled out of my ass. You know, you've never seen me with this equation before, but like, I need to get faster, and I know you're the man I need to talk to." Now, Harrison Wells is sketched out immediately. He's like, "Barry, what is this speed equation? These are numbers I didn't know that you knew. Why are you so obsessed with getting faster? Like, we're already working on getting you faster. You're getting faster every day." And Barry's like, "Just help me with the math, please, Wells, please." Barry has a run-in with Eddie, Iris's dead fiance. Remember that guy? Yeah, well, he's alive in the past, so he makes a cameo, and that kind of shocks Barry to his core for some reason, because he didn't expect to see Eddie, even though he knew what to expect when he went back in time. Like, bro, you were already there. Point is, at the police station, the time demon attacks. And this is different. That didn't happen before. And Barry doesn't know how to fight this thing. Back at the lab, the nerds start trying to figure out how to fight this creepy Dementor thing. And Wells is like, "Hey Barry, while Cisco and Caitlin nerd that out, I need you to come with me real quick." And he knocks him out and brings him to the time vault. This scene is insane. Like, it's actually peak cinema, I fear.
Dr. Wells, come on, it's me. It's Barry.
You are good, and I would believe you, except that I move like this. You barely flinch.
So Ubard is like, "Hey Barry, you gave yourself away. I know that you're from the future because of the time wraith." That's what the fuck-ass demon is called. They're called time wraiths. And Ubard, he knows how to time travel. This is not his first rodeo, so he covered his tracks very well, and he knew that that time wraith was not after him, but it was after Barry, because Barry doesn't know how to fucking time travel properly. Ubard starts connecting some dots. He's like, "If you're here, then that means that you defeated me, which means that my plan failed, which means that I lose.
I haven't beaten you.
And I cannot fucking lose, so I should just kill you." And Barry's like, no, Ubard, buddy, you won. You got what you wanted, bro. You made it back to your time. I have a whole new enemy to deal with now, buddy. Like, for real. You're good. Like, you won. I'm pissed about it, actually. I'm pissed about how great you won. Like, we really took that L. Even if that's the case, Ubard still does not need to help Barry. And he's still like, "Time to die." But Barry's like, "I wouldn't do that if I were you. I actually have a contingency plan. You see, I gave present me," which is past me to me because I'm future me, but I gave your Barry Allen, I gave him a letter that details your entire plan, and it will tell him how to stop you.
You kill me. He learns it all.
Ubard, if you don't help me increase my speed, then Barry Allen, he's gonna know all of your dirty little secrets. And you're never getting home. Cisco and Caitlin are chilling out around Hartley's cell when the Dementor attacks again. So the three of them end up locking themselves inside Hartley's cell because the walls are supposed to be impenetrable, so the time demon won't be able to get in there. The time demon starts fucking breaking the glass. It's going to get in there. The way that they defeat him is Hartley. He uses his freaky sound blasters to knock the demon out, and it runs away all scared. Ubard and Barry have to stop their little quest for speed to deal with the time wraith, because that's kind of an issue. Ubard has no idea how to defeat a time wraith, because he's never had to do that, because he just knows how to avoid them, you know? Rule number 1 of time travel, don't let the fucking time wraiths smell you. Barry goes up to Eddie and he asks Eddie to record a video for a birthday video that he's going to be giving to Iris. And he's like, just talk to Iris like this would be the last thing you ever said to her. While the nerds are chatting about how to use Hartley's sound gauntlets, real Barry runs in. I'm like present, past Barry. Barry Prime? No, Barry 2 is Barry Prime. Barry 2 is on Earth 2. Future Barry is Barry Prime, or is Barry from the past Barry Prime? Harry would know. We should be asking Harry. While we're in the lab, Barry from the past regains consciousness and comes back, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? So Barry from the future has to explain to everyone who he is and the fact that he time traveled. Ubard takes future Barry to the time vault and gives him a flash drive that contains the equations and the answers on how to increase his speed. And now they need to get future Barry the fuck out of there. Hopefully in the time it takes for Barry to time travel, the nerds, they'll have like a year to cook up a plan on how to deal with the time wraith. So when Barry pops back out at the other end, they'll like kill the time wraith. When Barry pops back out in the future, which is now the present, it was always the present, I guess. I hate time travel. Future Barry gets back to where he belongs, and Hartley is there, and he shoots the time wraith with his sound blasters, and it kills him. And now Hartley is one of the good guys. Barry then plugs in Ubard Thawne's flash drive, and he gets all the details on how to enhance his speed. The secret is tachyon enhancement. I still don't know what a tachyon is. Barry shows the video that he made Eddie record to Iris, acting like he just found it on his phone and forgot about it. Iris gets to hear Eddie tell her that she means the world to him, and it's like super sad, and she cries. End screen. The stats for this episode, the character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry from the present. I did make the distinction. He had 106 dramatic pauses. The character with the most quips was Ubard Thawne with 4, and I laughed at Ubard the most. I laughed at him 9 times. Episode 18, Versus Zoom. This episode starts with a dramatic voiceover from Barry, who expresses that he is very grateful for the support that he had after his mother died and his father went to prison. And he says that not all kids that go through tragedies like that are as lucky as he was. Pan over to Earth 2, we meet young Hunter Zolomon, and he watches his father kill his mother, point blank range shoots this woman right in front of little Hunter's very eyes. Hunter's father is wearing that dumbass metal hat when he kills his mom, and that stupid metal hat is the only belonging that Hunter Zolomon takes with him to the orphanage. Title screen. Barry is now wearing the tachyon enhancement device. It's like a big old metal circle, and he runs so fast that he goes through a portal, and then like a half a second later he pops back out the portal, and he's all dazed and confused, like, how long was I gone? And none of the nerds at Star Labs seem to really care. They're like, oh my god, Barry, you are faster than Zoom now. You're like 4 times faster than you ever were. Barry still really wants to reopen the breaches and fucking kill Jay Garrick. And Harry is like, Barry, I already told you we cannot reopen the breaches. Not because I don't want to, but because it's impossible, okay? Scientifically speaking. Harry and his science are going to be no help reopening the breaches. So Cisco is like, OMG, I think it's me. I think I'm the chosen one. My vibe powers might be the key to getting our asses back to Earth 2. He puts on his goggles, he reaches his hand out, he tries to like tear or rip in the space-time continuum or whatever. It doesn't work, nothing happens, and then Cisco gets depressed. Harry helps tinker with Cisco's reverb glasses a little bit, and he gets the frequency right, and Cisco puts them on, and he like starts to tear open a little breach, but he stops himself, and he will not open it up, and he gets all defensive and like runs off and says he doesn't want to do this. Wally is now officially moved in to the West House with Iris, Joe, and Barry. Cisco confesses to Barry that the reason why he doesn't want to tap into his full potential is because he doesn't want to be evil like Reverb. He is afraid that if he learns to channel his powers, it will automatically just make him evil. And Barry is like, Cisco, you dumb bitch. Caitlin's not evil, I'm not evil, and you are not evil either. So just get a grip and open that damn breach. This is where the logic of the show falls apart for me, and it's been tearing apart at the seams slowly as the show has progressed, but like right here, right now, this is the part that makes me want to just find every writer who was involved in this show and start throwing rocks at them, all Geomancer-like. They're discussing Jay, Zoom, whatever, and Caitlin casually mentions that Jay's doppelganger's name is Hunter Zolomon. Harry is like, what the fuck did you just say about Hunter Zolomon? Apparently, Hunter Zolomon is a big name on Earth 2. He is a convicted serial killer. They don't have a lot of serial killers on Earth 2, so Hunter Zolomon, that's a fucking household name. Harry explains to them that Hunter's father killed his mother in front of him, and then Hunter was an orphan who went on to murder like 23 people, and then he got sent to an asylum, and they did like electroshock therapy on him. Like, Hunter Zolomon is real bad news, and if only Caitlin had said that name to Harry earlier, then we could have avoided, like, this entire ordeal. He was doing electroshock therapy during the particle accelerator explosion, which is how he got his powers. Barry wants to somehow use Hunter Zolomon's traumatic past against him because Jay doesn't know that they know about his family trauma. Cisco mans up and opens the breach. Immediately, Zoom hops his ass through that thing. Zoom and the Flash fight. They run around the city, epic speedster battle style. They're in Star Labs, and the cardboard cutouts make an appearance. This time they are cardboard cutouts of Hunter's mother and father. And Zoom is like looking at this shit. He's all stunned. He's like, trauma, trauma, trauma. He like freezes in his tracks. Barry's able to hit him with the boot, and he's like powerless, and he has to sit there and listen to Barry monologue about how goodness always prevails. Jay is like,
you can't stop the darkness.
His eyes go fully black, like he's possessed by a demon. And then he ends up getting out of the boot and running away. Where does he run to? The West House. To do what? Kidnap Wally. In order for the team to get Wally back, Zoom wants the Flash to give him his speed. So Barry agrees. He's obviously not going to, like, let Wally die. So Zoom comes back to Star Labs, lore dumps about everything he did. Okay, so here's the story, guys. Get ready. The Jay Garrick that was murdered in front of their eyes was a real person. That was not a mirage. That was actually Jay Garrick. It was a time remnant. Zoom made a time remnant of himself, and then he convinced his time remnant to let him kill him in order to, like, further the deception of the Jay Garrick thing. So, like, he killed himself. That's like murder and suicide. He then explains that he's so evil that he likes to dress up as a hero and pretend to be the Flash just to, like, snatch the hope out of everyone's grasp. And it's more fun to be evil when people think that they have hope. And so he can give the hope and then take it away. Question, really quick before we move on. How long was this Jay Garrick a time remnant? Was he a time remnant the whole time? That's probably not the case, because this Jay Garrick seems to know and remember everything that happened to this Jay Garrick. So, it's not expressly stated when he created the time remnant or how long he had that cooking. It was probably like a last minute decision. Barry gets on the treadmill, he runs, all of his speed gets sucked out into one of those funny little speed vials. Barry has no speed, Zoom takes the speed vial, drinks it, and then he's like, hee, I am now the only speedster. And he wants to kill Barry. Caitlin is like, Jay, please don't kill Barry. Like, if you ever cared about any of us, please don't do this. And Jay is like, OMG. And then he kidnaps Caitlin and runs back to Earth 2. End screen. The stats for this episode. The character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry. He had 72. The character with the most clips was Cisco with 5. The character I laughed at the most was Barry. I laughed at him 4 times. And the character with the most kills was Zoom. He killed 23 people in the origin story flashback. Episode 19. Back to normal. Barry, with no speed, now has to cope with being a normal guy with a normal life. And he's not doing very well. Title screen. Harry leaves to find his daughter, because it's time we find Jessie. He's going to track her using cellular dead zones, because apparently people from Earth 2 give off cellular dead zones whenever they walk around. So that would have been useful information when they were maybe trying to find Dr. Light or King Shark or literally any of the other metas. In Zoom's lair, Caitlin has quite the luxurious accommodations. She is not in a cage. She's got freedom to roam the lair. She's got a bed with a nice mattress, and Jay even pops by to give her a burger. Caitlin is like, hey, I will never feel the same way about you that I felt before, okay? Any spark that I might have had for you is gone, out the fucking window. Hey, Caitlin, that's not a good thing to say to your captor. Maybe you should be doing that thing that they do in Criminal Minds where the victim, like, plays along to live longer. Is she stupid? Hey, Caitlin, why are you not hamming it up? Why are you not like, oh my god, Jay, I love you. Thank you for not killing me. Please. She doesn't get it. She's not playing the game the right way. Jay doesn't mind that she's a little off-put because he knows that if he gives it the proper amount of time, he'll be able to successfully Stockholm her, and he is not planning on rushing it. Let me make something perfectly clear for you guys. If Jay Garrick had brown hair, things would be different. I would be feeling a different type of way. I might even want to be Caitlin. Sign me up for the Zoom Lair Express tickets. Because I'm the type of bitch who always, like, falls in love with the villains of a show. Like, always. I'm like, you know what? He might have murdered a bunch of people, but that white man with brown hair is kind of hot. He's kind of doing something for me. It's truly the blonde hair. If Jay Garrick looked like Dead Hot Deadshot or Malcolm Merlin, things would be different. Caitlin explores the lair and she discovers Tappy and Killer Frost. Wally wants to thank the Flash for saving his life, and he asks Joe to, like, set up a meeting because he knows that Joe knows the Flash. Still, despite all of this shit, Wallace here has no clue that Barry is the Flash. I have no idea how many brain cells he has, but it's feeling negative. At this point, like, you were kidnapped, King Shark attacked your house, you were saved by the Flash at that, like, street race. There's too many coincidences here. I feel like Wallace needs to be putting these pieces together, and he is not doing that. Harry finds Jessie, and he's like, hey, come back to Star Labs with me, and she says no. While sadly driving away, Harry gets into a car crash. There's a dude, and he's like, he hulks out, and he, like, slams his body into Harry's truck, and he crashes the truck, and then he kidnaps Harry. Caitlin and Killer Frost strike up a deal. Okay, if Caitlin can break Killer Frost out of her cell, then Killer Frost will help Caitlin get down the mountain, because Zoom's lair is at the top of a mountain. The guy that kidnapped Harry, his name is Griffin Grey. He is 18 years old, but he looks to be about maybe 40, 50, because he is rapidly aging. The side effect of his particle accelerator explosion experience is he got super strength. But every time he uses his super strength, he ages rapidly. He thinks that Harry is Harrison Wells, like Harrison Prime. He wants Harrison Wells to make him a cure. The Star Labs nerds discover that Harry has been kidnapped, and Jessie is now there with them, and she steps in. All Jessie really does when she works with Team Flash is she goes, OMG, what's he doing? Oh my god, what is that? What is happening? It's exhausting because Jessie Quick here, she's supposed to be quick. She's supposed to be, like, a genius, graduated high school at, like, 15, like, 500 PhDs genius, and she's out here going, what's that? What? Listen, you can't just be like, Jessie is so smart, and then have her just not being smart ever. We get some Killer Frost lore. While Caitlin is trying to bust her cell open, she explains that she got her frosty powers from the dark matter wave. Her mother is a bitch, and Caitlin can relate to that because her mother also sucks. So they both have terrible mothers, but we do not get into any reasonings on why Caitlin's mom sucks. But I'm sure they'll explore that at some point, maybe in Season 3. Season 3? What even is that? The nerds figure out that every time that Griffin Grey uses his super strength, he ages. So their plan is to make him overexert himself and age himself to death. And that's how they're gonna win. That's kind of morbid, Barry. These guys are dark. These guys are dark and twisted. They want to act all fun and happy with their bright colors and their stupid nicknames, but these bitches are murderers. Caitlin ends up getting Killer Frost out of her cage. Killer Frost turns on her ass and goes to attack Caitlin. Fortunately for Caitlin, Jay shows back up and kills Killer Frost, which is unfortunate for Killer Frost because she was fucking cool. Every time they introduce, like, the coolest fucking character, Zoom zooms in and just kills him. They're dangling this little carrot in front of my head, and I'm a little rabbit, and I keep hopping along towards the carrot. And every time I get close to the carrot, it blows up. It explodes. There was no carrot, actually. What was the damn point? It is such a shame that Caitlin here doesn't have the metagene, so we'll never get Killer Frost again. The nerds locate where Griffin has Harry. They have put some Dwarf Star alloy into Barry's suit, and he goes to fight Griffin Grey. He only has enough of this Dwarf Star shit to keep him protected from one punch. Barry suits up, they go fight Griffin, it works, he ages himself to death, literally dies. Thanks, Barry, for killing another guy in the most traumatic way possible. What was the point of Griffin Grey? What was the moral of that story? That life sucks? That sometimes you have an uncurable disease and the superhero will age you to death? Harry promises Jessie that he will not kill anyone anymore, so they are not beefing and now they're a happy family again. Wally gets to thank the Flash in person for saving him and giving up his speed. Caitlin tells Jay that she just wants to go home. Like, dude, please, just let me go home. Every time Caitlin talks, it triggers a trauma flashback in Jay, where he remembers his father literally murdering his mother. That's something that he might want to unpack in therapy. All this talk of going back to Earth 1 has Jay thinking, hey, maybe we should go back to Earth 1. Maybe I should conquer Earth 1. End screen. Harry goes up to Barry, and he's like, we're gonna get your speed back. How? By Particle Accelerator Part 2, let's do it again. That's for this episode. The character with the most dramatic pauses was Harry. He had 69. Nice. The character with the most quips was Cisco. He had 5. And the character I laughed at the most was a tie between Jesse and Griffin Grey. I laughed at both of them twice. The character with the most kills was also a tie between Zoom and Griffin Grey. They killed 2 people, but Griffin Grey killed himself, so I don't really know if that counts. Episode 20, Rupture. Car chase. Police lights. The Flash runs in to save the day. But it's not actually the Flash, it's a hologram that's controlled by Cisco using a joystick and Barry running on a treadmill. They're using satellites to project a hologram of the Flash throughout the city so that people think that the Flash is still around and fast. Title screen. Cisco, Barry, and Iris are celebrating the success of their Flash hologram. It seems to be fooling everyone. It seems to be working. But Harry comes in to rain on their parade. He is like, guys, the only way to actually get the Flash back is if we turn on the particle accelerator and get you your speed back the good old-fashioned way. Nobody wants that. Harry insists that they can do this in a completely safe way that will contain the dark matter blast and only affect Barry. And it will 100% work, guaranteed, because Harry said so and he is the expert. Barry needs to get away from all of this bullshit, so he goes to visit his father in a cabin in the woods. And he's like, hey, Dad, I lost my speed. Harry wants to blow up the particle accelerator again. I'm not really sure, like, it might be the only option, but, like, all the side effects and the downsides to that, pretty severe. The pros and cons list is not balanced. Henry is like, Barry, I don't really think you need speed. It's not his responsibility to stop Zoom anymore. Like, he did his best. He saved Wally. He made the right choice giving away his speed. And he also was like, OMG, my mother's maiden name, Garrick. That's odd and weird and certainly will not come up in any form. Weird muscle spasm there, sorry. Cisco gets a weird vibe concerning his brother Dante, and he's fearing the worst, so he arranges a meeting with Dante just to, like, chat with him to make sure that he's okay. Barry and Henry return to Star Labs, and Henry reveals that he's planning on moving back to Central City and staying there full-time to be closer to his son. Y'all wanna say hi to Lewis? At the police station, Zoom runs in, and he declares that Central City is his, and the police need to stand down. Caitlin is there, and she stops him from killing anyone. The cops decide to regroup and set up at Jitters, because the police station is now Zoom's lair, so they can't be there anymore. Harry is like, hey Barry, it's now or never. We need to explode that particle accelerator and get you your speed back, but they're all still very much against this. Zoom has Caitlin handcuffed to a chair in the police department. She tells him that she will never love him. Jay is like, hey girl, I know that there is an icy cold heart inside you. We just need to unlock it. Cisco and Dante have their little brother visit, but Dante still doesn't like Cisco, and he doesn't want Cisco in his life, and he's like, just because we got kidnapped by Captain Cold together, that doesn't make us like brothers all of the sudden, so stay out of my life. Jesse and Wally are forced into proximity together because the adults want to lock them in the time vault so that if Zoom attacks, they'll be safe in there together. Cisco and Dante are leaving the restaurant they're at, and they get attacked by some Grim Reaper-ass dude with a golden glowing scythe, and he says that he's here to kill Vibe, because Vibe killed his brother, Reverb. This motherfucker is Dante's doppelganger, and he goes by Rupture. So Cisco pulls a Felicity and runs him over with a car, and then him and Dante make a break for it. Barry is now seriously considering redoing the particle accelerator explosion when Iris comes up to him, confesses her feelings of love for him, and then she says that it doesn't matter to her if he's just Barry Allen or if he's the Flash. Caitlin overhears Zoom and Rupture chatting about their evil plan to murder all of the policemen that are at Jitters, so she steals a phone out of an evidence box and sends a text to Barry to warn him about what's about to go down. Despite knowing that Rupture is about to go butcher every single cop at the police station, Barry still does not want to turn the particle accelerator back on. Dante discovers the letter that Cisco wrote for in case he didn't come back from Earth 2, and he confronts him about it. He's like, hey Cisco, Earth 2, breaches, what is all this shit? Why have you not told us about any of this? And Cisco's like, because we don't have that kind of connection. We don't talk. So like, why would I tell you that I have psychic magic powers? Why would you care? The cops had time to prepare the Flash hologram for when Rupture attacks at Jitters. So everything goes well, they manage to beat him, but Zoom catches wind of this, and he goes to the police station to give those motherfuckers a piece of his mind. So Zoom runs into the police station, he kills everybody in there except for Joe and Captain Singh, and that includes Rupture. I mean, realistically, did you expect Rupture not to die? He tells everyone that their hero is an illusion, the Flash is fucking gone, he's a slow-ass little bitch now, and Zoom is your new overlord, okay? Get in line. After this, Dante and Cisco hug each other and agree to make an effort to be more brotherly. Barry agrees to set off that particle accelerator and get his speed back. I'm finding it hard to explain the medieval torture device that they cook up to put Barry in to redo the particle accelerator explosion. It is a truly unhinged. In order to contain the particle accelerator explosion, they have built Barry a little medieval torture chamber. So he is going in this thing, and when he's in there, his arms are up like this, he's like handcuffed to the thing. In order to fully replicate the conditions of Barry's particle accelerator lightning strike, Harry has taken it upon himself to gather all of the chemicals that were in Barry's CSI lab that night, and they're going to inject him with all of these chemicals, and then Cisco is going to stand on the roof with the magic wand, and he's going to channel a gigantic lightning storm, and this lightning is going to be funneled through the Star Labs building directly into Barry. This is fucking crazy. The original setup for when Barry got struck with lightning, it was one little zzz of lightning. A lightning strike is a big deal, but what they're doing, they're taking the itty bitty little lightning strike that Barry was on, and then they're putting it on steroids. And Henry is like, hey, Harry, is all of this creepy fucking torture equipment necessary? And Harry's like, yes. While Barry is getting absolutely electrocuted and shot up with every chemical you could possibly imagine, Jesse and Wally escape the time vault, and as the dark matter wave blasts through the lab, both of them get hit with it. What happens to Barry after he gets struck with lightning a million times, injected with a bunch of chemicals, and then blasted by a dark matter wave? Well, he disintegrates. What did you think was gonna happen, guys? Barry is dead. Literally gone. Ashes. The only thing left of Barry are little shreds of his Flash outfit. End screen. The stats for this episode: the character with the most dramatic pauses was Cisco. He had 45. The character with the most quips was also Cisco. He had 6. And the character that I laughed at the most was Harry. I laughed at him 6 times. The character with the most kills was Zoom. He killed 10 people as far as I could tell. Episode 21. The Runaway Dinosaur. Everyone is freaking out about Barry just fucking disintegrating. Henry is depressed, and he's also mad at Harry. Joe runs in and he's like, guys, Wally and Jesse. So they run out and they find Wally and Jesse laying on the ground. Both of them are knocked unconscious. So Joe and Harry begin doing CPR on their respective children, and oh my god.
Jesse!
Harry had his hands way off Jesse's chest. Like, he was not touching her at all. It was literally the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Wally is totally fine, but Jesse, girl is barely clinging on to life. Cisco touches the charred remains of the Flash suit, and he gets a vibe of Barry trapped in the Speed Force. Title screen. Barry Allen is trapped in the Speed Force. The Speed Force is very interesting. The Speed Force is like a living, breathing thing, but it's also a dimension, and Barry can talk to the Speed Force. So the Speed Force is presenting itself as Barry's childhood home. So he wakes up in his bedroom, he's dazed and confused, he doesn't know where he is, lots of dinosaur toys scattered about everywhere. He goes downstairs and finds crime scene tape in their living room, and Joe West just sitting on a chair. And Joe is like, hey Barry, we are so glad to see you. Yeah, Joe West goes by we, us pronouns, respect it. Speed Force Joe explains that they are currently in the Speed Force, and they wanted to present themselves in a way that Barry would, like, not be weirded out by, so they chose to present as Joe West at the scene of his mother's murder. Yeah, that's not gonna freak Barry out at all, guys. Speed Force, great job on that one. Barry cannot leave until he catches this blur that's just running around. So that's what he sets out to do. Henry is not coping very well with Barry being, like, trapped in the Speed Force. How are they supposed to get him out of there? But he has to busy himself with saving Jesse, because girl is like, she's not looking good, and Henry is a doctor. Iris is like, OMG, Jesse is really giving Barry Allen struck by lightning realness. Like, this is just like when Barry was in his coma. So Iris and Cisco go into the depths of Star Labs to the Star Labs morgue. Yes, of course they have a morgue, because they've killed people and they need a place to store them. So they go down to the morgue to hopefully find some of Evil Wells's notes from when he treated Barry the first time, to maybe use those on Jesse. Tony the Tin Man busts out of the morgue, and he's full zombie, and he starts chasing them around, and he escapes Star Labs, and he's rampaging through the city. The team has to divide and conquer because we have 3 separate issues. So Henry is on Jesse watch, Cisco and Harry are working on how to get Barry out of the Speed Force, and Iris and Cisco and Joe need to stop the fucking zombie Tin Man. Cisco manages to project himself into the Speed Force, and he calls out to Barry, Barry, come back! Barry, grab my hand! And Speed Force Iris tells Barry that he can either go with Cisco now and be powerless forever, no speed for you, or he can keep his ass here, right here in the Speed Force, and catch that blur, and then they'll give him his speed back. And Barry's like, well, I need my speed, so sorry, Cisco. Iris figures out that Zombie Tony is probably after her, so she wants to use herself as bait to lure him back to Star Labs. Barry is angry at the Speed Force because they are not giving him straight answers. He wants his speed, they are gatekeeping his speed from him. And the Speed Force now presents as his dad, and they are at the graveyard, standing in front of Nora's grave. Barry says that he's never been to the graveyard before, he's never gone to see his mother's grave. Speed Force Henry is like, hey Barry, have you come to terms with your mother's death? And Barry is like, of course I have not. I ran back in time to save her, and I ultimately made the choice that my life was more important than hers, and I actively chose to let her die, and that's tearing me up inside, Speed Force. Joe is worried that Wally might have powers from his dark matter blast, so he's like dropping things in front of him to see if he's a speedster. Wally is not a speedster. Tony shows up, and then Iris has to jog all the way from the West House to Star Labs. What is that distance? How far does girl have to run? They lure Tony back to Star Labs. Cisco builds this contraption that's supposed to stop him. It doesn't work, so the entire gang is forced to hide out in like the farthest corner of Star Labs and just pray that Tony can't find them. Still in the Speed Force, he enters his childhood home and is greeted by Speed Force Nora, his mother, OMG. He fully breaks down, and she tells him that there are tragedies in your life that you can't outrun. Cisco puts the pieces together, and he realizes that Barry didn't leave the Speed Force because he chose to stay there. So they are like, let's beam back into the Speed Force and convince Barry to come back out. Speed Force Nora is reading Barry the Runaway Dinosaur book. Apparently he liked this book when he was a kid. I don't give a fuck. She's like, now you're ready. And the blur that he was trying to chase is actually him. And so, like, he shakes hands with Speed Force Flash, and then he gets his speed back, and then he joins Cisco back in the real world, and he has to fight and defeat Tony. After Tony is dead the second time, Barry goes up to Jessie in her coma, and he, like, touches her hand, and some lightning from Barry travels into her, and this wakes her up, and Harry is like, it's the Speed Force. Barry goes to see Nora's grave in real life. He takes Iris with him. He tells her that the sound of her voice will always bring him home, and they hug, and it's really sweet, I guess. End screen. Zoom gives Caitlin an ultimatum. She can stay with him, or she can leave and go back to her friends. But if she leaves and rejoins the team, he will not show her any mercy when he ultimately comes to kill everyone. He steps out into the police station. The police station is full of metas from Earth 2, and Zoom is like, time to take over this city, guys. You are my meta army, and we're gonna do some serious damage. Stats for this episode: the character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry. He had 84. The character with the most quips was Cisco. He had 8. The character that I laughed at the most was Harry. I laughed at him 8 times. Episode 22. Invincible. The whole damn city is on fire. Metas of all shapes, sizes, and powers are out here causing complete destruction. Murder, property damage, unimaginable injuries. It's all happening. Title screen. Barry is incredibly overconfident now that he just had a chat with the Speed Force. He believes that he will win because the universe is on his side. And he has this whole happy-go-lucky, I can't die, I'm indestructible attitude. Caitlin shows back up to the lab and everyone's like, oh my god, you escaped? And she's like, no, he just let me go. And she is traumatized. Maximum levels of traumatized. She's pale. She looks sick. Diva alert, guys. Diva alert. Diva. I think this is our first diva, because everyone else up to this point, I've been calling them girl bosses. This bitch, diva. Diva! We're not actually supposed to know who she is yet, but I'm too excited. This is Black Siren, aka Laurel Lance's doppelganger from Earth 2. She is so fucking cool. I'm obsessed with her. And spoiler alert, unlike the rest of these fucking rejects, Zoom doesn't kill her. So she's not going anywhere, guys. You can get attached. She struts out here in a long black leather jacket. She's got high heels on. She's got like a pointy choker. Like, she is serving. It doesn't get better than this, guys. And she is a metahuman. She is using her magical meta powers to knock down a building. She's got a real canary cry. Guys, real black canary cry straight out the lungs. It's the first black canary, like the first real one, because up until now Laurel Lance has had like a little choker that she's been able to use to replicate a canary cry. This bitch has one built in. Comes pre-packaged factory settings. She's rattling Mercury Labs. That building is coming down. Tina McGee and all of her geeks have to get out of there. Throughout this episode, each side character is going to come up to Barry and try to convince him that he needs to not be so overconfident. It will not work. When he hears that Mercury Labs is currently crumbling, he runs over there, saves all of the geeks, and then Tina McGee is like, oh my god, thank you, Mr. Allen. So Tina McSlay is in on the identity secret, and they actually take her back to Star Labs, and she becomes kind of an honorary member of the team for this episode. Tina is like, we could potentially salvage the footage from this attack and see what exactly went down. Between you and me, I think it was Harrison Wells. I saw that guy walking around. He's supposed to be dead, but he's here. And then Harry walks in the room, and he's like, yeah, I don't think so. Wally West is in his Roy Harper Arsenal era. He is out here on the streets trying to fight metahumans with his bare hands. He almost gets killed by one of the metahumans, and Joe has to come and save his ass. And then he's like, Wally, what are you doing, bro? Sit your ass down. You're not a hero. You don't have magic powers. And Wally is like, but Dad, I've been saved by the Flash, and now I have to, like, repay that debt. Throughout all of this shit, Wally still has no idea that Barry is the Flash, despite knowing that Barry somehow died during the particle accelerator explosion, he has not connected the dots. Wally, please, you're hurting my head. Jessie wants Caitlin to run some tests on her to see if she is a meta, because that coma was weird, and she thinks she might have some magic powers. So Caitlin's running the tests, and Harry comes in, and he's like, no, you're not a meta. You're not. It's giving Girl Meets World, where Farkle is like, guys, I'm going to get tested for autism, and then Sabrina Carpenter is like, no. Throughout all of the scenes that Caitlin is in, she is having these PTSD flashbacks where she sees Zoom, like mirages of Zoom. She's literally not doing well. Barry goes to have a chat with Zoom. Zoom says, you and I, we both have the same traumatic backstory. We both have the same lightning strike origin story. We are the same. You and I, we are not two sides of the same coin. Bitch, we are the same coin. And Barry's like, no, I'm nothing like you. I'm going to defeat you. Jay is like, you will not, because you could fight me right now, or you could run out there and save all those people from this building that is crumbling from Laurel's evil doppelganger. And so that's what he does. He goes to save everyone from another building that's coming down. And Jay is just like, ha ha ha, your weakness is that you have to be the hero. If you just let that building crumble, you could have probably defeated me right now. The team shifts their focus because it's the metapocalypse out here, and that is what they're calling it in the show. So they need to find a way to take down all of the Earth 2 metas at the same time. How are they going to do this? With a frequency blaster, of course. Because the Earth 2 bitches vibrate on a different frequency than the Earth 1 bitches. So if they can blast a frequency that will knock all of them on their asses, then they'll be able to, like, run around, put them all in jail, and then they won't have any metas to worry about anymore. Caitlin tells Cisco that she doesn't think she will ever recover from her Zoom-related trauma, and Cisco is like, Caitlin, I got you, okay? You and I, we will make it through this together. You're gonna be okay. Slay Queen, let it go! Barry comes face to face with the diva herself, Laurel 2 Black Siren, and she kicks his ass. She's got him on the ground. She is literally about to blow his eardrums out and kill that bitch. And she's laughing. She's flabbergasted that Zoom is actually scared of this motherfucker because she just so easily beat him. And she's literally about to kill him. Wally pulls a Felicity and runs her over with a car. How many times are people going to get run over with cars? Are we done? If one more motherfucker gets hit with a car, I'm quitting. Iris is the one who's able to get through to Barry and tell him to chill out. Maybe you're not invincible. And it works. He's like, yeah, a healthy dose of fear is good, actually. Black Siren has a meeting with Zoom, and he's like, I need your bitch ass out there knocking down more buildings so that Barry and his geek squad can't figure out what my real plan is. And she's like, what is your real plan? And he's like, I'm not telling you, it's a secret. The frequency blaster is built. Harry and Jessie have special noise-canceling headphones that should protect them from the frequency blast. They're about to blast all the metas when another building is about to go down. So they have to either blast the frequency or save the building. So Cisco is like, okay, you nerds deal with the frequency blaster. Me and Caitlin are gonna suit up and we are gonna deal with Black Siren. How? Killer Frost and Reverb cosplays, of course. They manage to distract Black Siren long enough to keep her from blowing up another building before they are ultimately discovered. And now how are Caitlin and Cisco discovered? It's because Black Siren tosses a pen to Cisco and he catches it with his right hand. But oh, Reverb's a lefty. Uh-oh. Why is Reverb a lefty? According to Black Siren Doppelganger Diva expert, all doppelgangers are mirror images of each other. What does that mean? We have to dissect this sentence because it doesn't make a lick of sense when you actually think about it. If they're mirror images, does that mean that their organs are on the other side? If so, wouldn't someone have pointed that out when they were doing them body scans of Jay at the start of the season? Wouldn't Caitlin have been like, gee willikers, it's so weird that your heart is on the other side of your body? Maybe that shit would have come up earlier when they were on Earth 2. Like maybe Detective Iris West would have noticed that Barry Allen was writing with his non-dominant hand. Maybe that could have tipped her off. No, all of the fucking sudden, Laurel Lance 2, diva expert here, is like, we're all mirror images of each other. There's infinite Earths, okay? That's kind of a crisis. So is everyone a mirror image of Earth 1? Later on, we're gonna learn that Earth 1 is like the center of the multiverse. Would that mean that everyone in all of the other infinite Earths are all mirror images of Earth 1? Or are they like mirror images of each other? So like down the line somewhere there's gonna be a Reverb who's right-handed. Right? I'm confused. Reverb is not a lefty. That cannot be right. Reverb is right-handed. That's my headcanon, because bro is not giving lefty energy. Anyway, the frequency blaster works, and Zoom is able to narrowly escape getting his frequency blasted by tearing a portal to Earth 2. So he can just do that on his own. He can just rip his own breeches whenever he wants. After they clean the streets of all of the incapacitated metas, they make the decision not to tell Quentin Lance about Laurel's evil doppelganger, because that will undoubtedly fuck him up. I can tell you with my powers of the vision of the future, it will fuck him up. It will fuck him up so bad, actually. It's crazy. Barry tells Joe that he will not be stopping Wally from doing hero shit, because Wally, he was born to be a vigilante. Hey Barry, this is Central City. Starling City's where the fucking vigilantes are. Okay, maybe Wallace West shouldn't be out here playing vigilante when he's up against super-powered metahuman. Maybe send him to Starling City where he can deal with super-powered wizards. Actually, no. Keep him away from Starling City. Wally would die there. There's a heartwarming family dinner with all of the Wests, all of the Allens, all of the Star Labs nerds, except for Harry, who did get hit with a frequency blaster, so he's kind of out, but he'll be okay. Don't worry about him. Tina McGee is there too. She's serving. Her and Henry Allen are actually like chatting it up. It's giving flirty. It's giving, yeah, kind of ship it. It's giving don't get too attached, because Zoom is about to bust in and steal Henry Allen and kill him in front of Barry in his childhood home. Because that's what happens. Zoom does do that. The way that Wally finds out that Barry is the Flash is because after Zoom runs in there and steals Henry, Barry speeds away, and he's like, oh my god, I was just eating dinner with the Flash. Cisco has also been getting vibes of Earth 2, splitting in half down the center. When Zoom kills Henry in front of Barry, he tells him that this is what's going to make them exactly the same. End screen. The stats for this episode: the character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry, he had 77. The character with the most quips was Cisco, he had 12. The character that I laughed at the most was Diva Black Siren, I laughed at her 3 times. And the character with the most kills was Zoom, he killed 1 person. Episode 23. The race of his life. I thought it'd be fun to change up the lighting for the final episode. Barry is crying over his dad's dead body, and he vows that he's gonna kill Zoom. So they fight. They run around the city, and Barry's about to kill him when Zoom comes and kills himself. Because the Zoom he was fighting who killed his dad was a time remnant. So Zoom comes in, kills his time remnant, and then goes, haha, Barry. You can't kill me. Only I can kill me. Title screen. At the funeral, Barry promises the casket that he will take from Zoom everything that was taken from him. The gang needs to find a way to stop Zoom and also stop Earth 2 from being split down the middle. Zoom is like, hey, Barry, I want to race. If you refuse to race, I will kill everyone you love. If you lose, I will kill everyone you love. But if you win, then you win. Zoom wants to race because he stole some fuck-ass world-ending device from Mercury Labs. Tina, why do you have that? He wants to power it up with his speed and Barry's speed combined. It will have enough power to destroy not only Earth 2, but all of the other infinite Earths in the multiverse. Where is the Monitor when you need him? So Barry is all for this. He's like, I want to raise Zoom, I'm gonna win, and then this is gonna be over. Everyone else on the team is like, that sounds like a really bad idea, actually. So they shoot him with a tranq dart and lock his ass in the pipeline, and they're gonna cook up a plan that does not involve killing everyone in the multiverse. Their plan, it's actually pretty solid as far as plans go. Caitlin is going to distract Jay, and while he is distracted, everyone else is going to get in position. They're going to open a breach and then push Zoom through the breach and close it, and then Zoom will be stuck on Earth 2 forever. They know that Zoom can just open breaches whenever he wants, right? So throwing Zoom through a breach, that really won't make a difference. The plan starts off pretty well. Everything is going smoothly until it's not. Zoom catches on, and then the only way to get him through the breach is for Joe to body slam him through this breach. And that means that Joe, of course, goes through the breach with him. Wally then shows up, and he's like, "Where's my dad?" And Iris tells him everything that happened, and he's like, "We gotta save him, okay? Let's crack open that breach, let's go save Joe." And they're all like, "Oh, we can't do that, because you see, before we did the plan, we all agreed that no matter what happened, we would not be opening any breaches." On Earth 2, Joe finally gets an explanation from Zoom about who the fuck Tappy is. This guy is the real Jay Garrick. Jay Garrick is a Flash from a different Earth. Not Earth 1, not Earth 2, perhaps Earth 3. He is the first speedster that Zoom tried to steal speed from, but he wasn't able to do it, and so instead, he just trapped him in a cage and then took his identity. Barry gets let out of the pipeline, and he is immediately like, "No, we're not doing this shit. I'm saving Joe, and I'm racing Zoom, and you bitches cannot stop me." So Cisco vibes Barry to Earth 2, and they lay out the ground rules. Barry will race Zoom if Zoom gives Joe back. Zoom will not give Joe back until the race is over, but that's good enough for Barry, because he's determined to win this fucking race anyway. Zoom's evil plan is to destroy the entire multiverse, like I said, which would leave only Earth 1 left, because Earth 1 is apparently the center of the multiverse. By destroying all of the other infinite Earths in the multiverse, Zoom will have conquered every infinite Earth in the multiverse. Okay, but then what? Then what, Zoom? You're gonna get bored. You're gonna get bored and you're gonna wish you didn't destroy the whole multiverse. That's a dumb plan. During this race, they have to run around in a circle to power on this device. Zoom will win the race if this thing powers on. Barry will win the race if he can stop Zoom before it powers on. But the rules are they both have to keep running. If Barry stops running, then Zoom will go and kill everyone that he loves. Barry can't not participate in powering up the world-ending device. How does Barry defeat Zoom? Well, he creates a time remnant. The time remnant is going to destroy the world-destroying device while real Barry saves everyone and kicks Zoom's ass. The time remnant has to run so fast around this thing to turn it off that he will combust and die, but that's fine, because that time remnant had so much love in his heart that he was willing to kill himself to save everyone. So, time remnant suicide saves the day, guys. It's like that Olivia Rodrigo song. Time remnant suicide. When Barry created his time remnant, a time wraith came out of the time stream, and it ended up killing Jay, because the time wraith was more mad at Jay instead of Barry for making one time remnant, so the time wraith destroys Zoom for them. Harry and Cisco bring Tappy back to Earth 1. They unmask him. That is Henry Allen's doppelganger, Jay Garrick. Remember, his mother's maiden name is Garrick. There was a power dampener inside of Tappy's hat, so now that the mask is off, Jay Garrick has all of his speed back, and he can go back to Earth 3 and continue flashing it up over there. He decides to appropriate Zoom's metal hat and make it part of his outfit, because Zoom stole his entire identity, so he wants to steal the metal hat and make it part of his costume now. It's time for everyone to say their goodbyes. Harry and Jesse are planning on going back to Earth 2 and helping rebuild civilization, so that's where they go. And the last thing that happens is everyone is chatting at the West House. Great ending, everyone's happy, everything is fine. I really hope Barry doesn't do anything fucking stupid. So Barry and Iris are chatting on the porch, and Iris is like, "Barry, I love you, and I want to be with you. Like, I know that times are crazy right now. Your dad just died, and that whole thing with Zoom just happened, but like, I am finally ready to admit my feelings for you, and I finally want to start this relationship." And Barry is like, "Gee, I would, Iris, but like emotionally right now, I'm fucking flatlining, so we're gonna have to put that on pause." Barry is like, "Iris, I'm so sorry for what I'm about to do." What is he about to do? Well, he's about to run back in time to the day that Eobard Thawne killed his mother, and he's going to save her. He's gonna attack Eobard Thawne, and he says, "You're not gonna kill her. You're not gonna kill her ever again." End screen. Stats for this episode. The character with the most dramatic pauses was Barry. He had 85. The character with the most quips was Cisco. He had 8. And the character that I laughed at the most was a 3-way tie between Barry, Cisco, and Caitlin. I laughed at each of them one time. This was not a funny episode. The character with the most kills was Zoom. He killed 1 person. Well, it looks like you made it to the end of the video. Congratulations. And thanks. Thank you. Now it is time for the prestigious awards ceremony. My favorite character this season was Cisco Ramon, and the character that I would consider the most girl boss was Harry Wells. If you were curious about the total number of dramatic pauses for all of the characters and the side characters and the even sidier side characters that I didn't mention in this video, click the link to the Google document in the description. Everything is there. Literally every dramatic pause ever paused is there. Let me know in the comments which one of my drawings you thought was the most cursed. And make sure to subscribe, because next time we're going to be diving in to the worst season of Arrow, season 4. It's going to get DARHK all up in this bitch. And I'm actually really excited to talk about it because it's so bad. In the future, I plan on branching out from the Arrowverse. Sometime soon, I'm gonna pause and do a recap on Peacemaker because I love that show and season 2 is coming out, so maybe that one will hit with the algorithm. If you liked this video, please leave a like and subscribe because motivation is very hard to come by these days. Eventually, I'm gonna have to talk about Legends of Tomorrow, and that is going to literally make my head spin right off, and I need emotional support if we're gonna do this together. Please leave a like. Let me know how we're feeling about the dramatic lighting. Is it a yes? Is it a no? Should I stay? Should I go? Do you want me off the internet? Am I too ugly to be recording myself in my room? I don't know. You tell me. You're the judge. You be the judge, the jury, and the executioner, except I probably won't read the comments anyway because I have my notifications turned off. And always remember that you, yes you, are my best bestie, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!